Good morning, and welcome to the Planning Commission's August 13th, 2026 meeting. Call the meeting to order, and I'll ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So I want to, we didn't have any legal notices that needed verification for this meeting?
No, the agenda was posted in compliance with state law. However, I would like to make one note. Today's item 6A, was inadvertently placed in section 4 or 5 instead of section 6. Other than that, we're good to go.
All right. And we don't have anything for the consent agenda. So we will get started. Now, this is a workshop format, so it's a little different than we usually do. So if you will help us walk through that. So if you want to start with the presentation from the county.
Certainly. Would you like to read the item?
For me? Well, it says, do we open public comment?
I would
Generally first, and then we'll
item.
get into this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So public comment, we have several opportunities for public comment, but this one is for items that are not on the agenda for today. So if you would like to step forward to the lectern, introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes to share your thoughts on any topic that is not on today's agenda.
Is that right now?
That's right now. Yes. Come on up.
This is the first one not on the agenda?
These are things that are not on the agenda.
Okay, we're going to wait for, you're going to call our name to come back out.
We'll give you the opportunity. I won't call your name, but okay.
Since this is not on the agenda, this is the perfect time for you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what your topic was.
Yes.
All right. Yes, and please step forward. Introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes. Now, if there are 3 of you, you each have 3 minutes.
Okay, there's 3 of us.
Alrighty.
Good morning, my peeps. My name is Ruben Cortez, residing at 21067 Barnes Street. I'm speaking today on behalf of our Unified Neighborhood Collision spanning all sides, Santa Clara Road, Barnes Street, Stephans Avenue, and Napa Avenue. We have formally submitted our master citizens protest and signature packet to establish an unassailable record that 100% of the immediate property owners in our neighborhood certified that they received 0 official mail notification from the Lake County regarding this project at any stage. The county's master file contains a severe contradiction that exposes a total failure of due process. While past project documentation explicitly assured the public that the subdivision layout under application SD24-05 would be sought separately in the future, the Planning Commission August 8, 2025 public hearing notice quietly included SD24-05 within the active project bundle. You cannot bury an active subdivision map split inside confusing code wrappers and claim the neighborhood was legally noticed. Furthermore, Associate Planner Max Stockton recently confirmed in writing that the tentative map layout for this 50-lot residential parcel was quietly brought before the Planning Commission and approved on July 23, 2026. He noted that no appeals were submitted. Let me be completely clear to the County Council. The neighborhood did not appeal that decision because the county completely failed to execute its mandatory statutory mail notice matrix to our street. While we understand today's meeting is a regular board workshop on the Middletown area plan elements and not an individual project voting hearing, you are actively integrating this defective layout into the master framework. Because this layout was processed in the total secrecy that July 23rd administration approval and the proceeding September 2025 rezoning suffered from a fatal jurisdiction defect under California land use law, it is void ab initio, void from the very beginning. The standard 10-day appeal or any day appeal does not protect procedurally illegal acts. Furthermore, we have filed our formal requisition of deeded private easement information alongside our recorded deed. This is instrument number 2004-013909 in the official records of County of Lake. It grants express rights of ingress and egress to and from Santa Clara Road. Under California Subdivision Map Act, a subdivision layout cannot legally overwrite and extinguish our record private easement rights without express consent. We demand that the board halt all forward movement on the Middletown area plan elements for this site until the staff completely reconciles these circulation maps with our deeded property rights. We are fully prepared to seek immediate injunctive relief in Superior Court to throw out both the unconstitutional September 2025 rezoning and the July 23rd tentative map approval on the grounds that they are void from the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Short. Good morning, board members. My name is Elizabeth Cortez, residing at 21067 Barn Street. I'm standing here today alongside my husband, Ruben, and my daughter, Isabel, to amplify the voices of dozens of families who have been systematically silenced by this planning process. We now stand as a completely unified coalition representing the immediate homeowners across all sides: Santa Clara Road, Barn Street, St. Stephen's Avenue, and Napa Avenue. Senior Planner Michelle Iris emailed me that the county is going to shift our community's formal testimony into item 5 for general public comment. I firmly reject that administrative sideline. Our objections strike directly at the long-term infrastructure, safety, and circulation elements of the 2050 general plan update before you today. They belong strictly within the record and debate for item 6A. You cannot legally advance a multi-decade county blueprint while blinding yourself to a documented, unconstitutional, and title defect on its face. Furthermore, the county's own active project record is a profound material contradiction. The August 8, 2025 public notice explicitly listed subdivision map SD 24-05 among active entitlements, yet final approval documents claimed it was removed and deferred. Today, your current official project portal actively lists SD 24-05 as an open application, housing the physical lot layouts inside Appendix E. You cannot bury an active subdivision map split inside confusing code wrappers and claim the neighborhood was legally notified. Staff cannot claim no active layout exists when it's published in your own portal. We want to make it absolutely clear to this board, to county council, and to the developer's legal team. We will not allow our family's safety to be negotiated away behind closed doors. The planning department has officially confirmed in writing that all existing private easements remain with the land and are fully protected under Lake County Subdivision Ordinance, Chapter 17. Yet the active design sitting in Appendix E for SD-2405 physically encroach upon and overburden our private right-of-way. Do not sideline our voice under item 5. Order an immediate pause on the Middletown area plan elements today. Under California Subdivision Map Act, a local legislative body must deny designs that conflict with existing easements. We are using our deeded property as an absolute shield to protect our entire street. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, members of the board and county council. My name is Isabel Cortez. I'm a college student and a full-time resident at 21067 Barn Street. I am here today to formally object to the high-density zoning framework being integrated into the Middletown Area Plan Workshop elements for 21000 Santa Clara Road. A high-density compound jammed into this narrow corridor is entirely incompatible with our single-family residential neighborhood. It will completely erase our privacy, destroy our quiet environment or enjoyment, and place an unsustainable strain on our shared electrical grid and water utilities. What concerns our household most is the county's complete contradictory logic. The planning department previously blocked us from permitting our family's small 3-foot elevated granny unit over email, using local flood zone maps as the excuse. Now, during today's board workshop, the county is reviewing a master framework to facilitate packing massive residential densities into the exact same flood hazard terrain. This arbitrary enforcement completely violates our trust and ignores basic planning safety. Furthermore, as direct border sharing neighbors, we never received mandatory official written mail notices about the preceding 2025 rezone votes or the secret July 23, 2026 tentative map approval for applications SD 24-05. Because this project covers 12 acres, county mandates strictly require an expanded 700-foot notification radius, not a standard 300-foot map. The counties completely bypassed this requirement, keeping our entire neighborhood in the dark prior to this board meeting. Trying to quietly push through a massive high-density project in an active flood zone and wildfire corridor without consulting adjacent residents is a severe violation of constitutional due process. Forcing a bottleneck onto our emergency evacuation paths puts our entire household, including our elderly and medically fragile relatives, at catastrophic risk during a disaster. You cannot legally penalize our neighborhood for missing the administrative appeal windows on decisions that were strictly hidden from us. These notice failures render the underlying actions void ab initio, void from the very beginning due to jurisdictional notice defects. I urge this board to halt all forward movement on these Middletown area plan workshops maps until our deeded property rights and constitutional notice boundaries are fully respected. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can we discuss this at all, or would that be inappropriate?
Is this something that's going to be put, or,
Not on today's agenda, and generally, public input items are not discussed. You just take in the input.
thank you. Any other public input? Yolanda, do we have anybody on Zoom? No. All right, we'll close public input, and then we'll proceed with the staff presentation before we get started on our agenda items.
Did you want to read the agenda item? Introduce it.
Presentation of the Lake County General Plan and Local Plan updates.
Excellent.
Okay.
So as the chair mentioned earlier, Mireya Turner, Community Development Director. It is super exciting to be here before you today. This is the culmination of a 3-year effort that has been a top priority in front of us every day, every week for the last 3 years. So this is, I mean, you can't tell, but I'm seriously excited. As the chair referred earlier, this is workshop format today because we are not requiring any action be taken from the commission today. As you are well aware, this is a voluminous project for you to review. And so I was thankful that the chair and I did have a discussion yesterday regarding breaking it up into pieces so it would be more easily consumable and we wouldn't just sort of overwhelm you with trying to get it all done in a day. So this is the Lake County 2050 project. Our next slide, I believe, is the role of the Planning Commission in this effort. And while Shannon's working that, I will introduce our Deputy Administrator, Shannon Walker-Smith. As far as the Lake County team has gone, it's been mostly Shannon and I visiting the municipal advisory committees, holding the LAPAC meetings, supporting staff support for the general plan advisory committee meetings, supporting the stakeholder meetings. It's been our 2-person team. We've had some review from our planning staff early on with the edits, and so that has been very helpful to have a number of eyes. But in 2024, or 2023, I think, when the board first approved this Lake County 2050 project and awarded the contract to the PlaceWorks firm, that brought on our offsite team, our PlaceWorks team, which has been doing a bulk of the writing work as well as preparing presentations both in English and Spanish for our kickoff webinars and for our Spanish stakeholder meetings. No problem, I can keep talking. So let's see, what else do I want to tell you? The staff report, you'll note, had an extensive section on community outreach. Super duper. I used a different county's staff report as a template, and it was very helpful, but something that was quite striking was they had 5 public hearings in preparation of their general plan. And as you can see, we had good solid page and a half of just listing our community outreach, again, with kickoff webinar and kickoff open houses. The board established 8 different local area plan advisory committee meetings, and so we had 47 LAPAC meetings in one session and 27 in the others. There were a couple things, a couple outreach opportunities that I forgot to mention here, so I'll cover those as we go along. All right, next slide, please. So, what is your role today? According to the government code, when a county or city has a planning commission, it is that commission's duty to review any general plan update, in this case, a comprehensive update to our general plan, and hold at least one public hearing in order to gain public input, gather public input, to review the documentation and consider if you think that it is complete and if it is accurate. And if we can get to that point, you then consider making a recommendation of adoption to the Board of Supervisors, both for the general plan documents, which are before you today, as well as the EIR, which will be at a future meeting. Out of our conversations with the chair regarding breaking this up, I assembled a list of possible dates for the commission to consider establishing or setting a special meeting in order to sort of break up all of the elements into more palatable chunks for review. The way it's listed for you, or sort of the way I envisioned it, is we'd start with the county-wide elements today, see how far we get. If we complete that, that's great. If not, we keep going. And then next in order would be the local area plans, or the what we call now the planning area elements, since we did integrate the the local area plans into the overall general plan. And they're all part of the general plan now. So we can move on to those secondarily, and then after that go over land use designation amendments that have come up since the last time you saw that map. And then we'll move on to the EIR.
So the conversation now is
Let's talk about the special meeting date options.
okay, so today the proposal is that we would go over the elements, which are water, ag, health, geothermal, and noise. Is that correct? Okay,
Those are the county-wide elements.
all right. And then at a meeting to be established here, we would go over the 8 area plans
Mhm.
in alpha order.
Or as many as you can cover in that
Well,
meeting. Some of
right,
them will
but-
take longer than others.
Right, but we would start, and that would
Yes.
be the agenda items for the next one, maybe 2.
Yes.
Okay. So we need to have, because you and I primarily are the ones who discussed, and I like the word voluminous because they're about 2,000 pages or more as part of just this agenda right here. Is this something that's acceptable, amenable? You think we agree that this is the way we ought to proceed forward?
I think it would be a really good idea to identify some specific dates that we're going to, I think workshop isn't really a verb, but that we're going to discuss, because I'd like to have a discussion. I think that's appropriate. I think we should establish specific dates for each region. I assume that some of the people who are here today would like to speak on those elements, and I would like to hear them since they're here.
Yeah, I agree, because when the agenda dropped on Monday, the whole list was here, and people looked at the list and decided if they needed to come. And I think that we need to be respectful of their time and allow them to share whatever insights or thoughts they have on any of the area plans that we will not be addressing today, but we'll get their input. That doesn't preclude you from speaking again when it's the agendized time, or from submitting any written thoughts or comments regarding those items. So,
Great.
but. Okay, but are we in agreement that we want to split it out? Okay, and then next we'll work on dates. So today we'll do the element, the countywide, Next, we'll do the others. We do have a meeting on the 27th. Is there something that might be available next week?
Yes, Friday, August 21st, the board chambers are available.
Okay, so looking for, everybody's looking on their little phone for their dates.
So my schedule, I wouldn't be able to arrive here till about 11:30.
Pardon me?
I have appointments on Friday, the 21st.
What time do you say?
11:30.
11:30, okay.
I was unaware that we'd be setting dates for special meetings, so I do not have my calendar with me, but I'll just wing it.
Okay. Friday works? Okay, and Friday works for me. We don't need to start at 9 o'clock, I guess?
You can start at 11:30 if you like.
How about, is the chamber available in the afternoon? It seems like
I
1
believe
o'clock.
it's available all day, yes.
I would suggest that we start at 1 o'clock.
Okay. Okay, no excuse now.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. All right, we want to have everybody as possible. Okay, so
Got it.
August 21st at 1 PM in the chambers.
So I think it would be appropriate to decide what exactly, which elements are going to be on the agenda that day. Maybe we could do Cobb and Eastlake. Would that be appropriate?
Or we could just go in alpha order.
If it's okay with the commission, I'd like to make Kelseyville a little later. I have some work to do with that LAPAC.
Okay,
Okay, so I would propose that we do items 8 and 9, the Cobb Mountain area element and the Eastlake Communities area element on August 21st at 1 o'clock.
okay, so that's 2. We probably could do more than 2, do you think?
You could definitely cover Lakeport.
Okay, we'll do Lakeport. And what about the Rivieras?
Sure.
Okay, so that's 4. All right, then our next date is the 27th.
The next available is your regularly scheduled meeting on the 27th, Thursday.
All right, why don't we do the balance of the 4 on the 27th, which would be Lower Lake, Middletown, Kelseyville,
And North Lake.
and North Lake. Lower Lake, Middletown, Kelseyville, and North Lake.
The next open board chamber day, if you wanted a special meeting, would be August 28th. It would be that next day, that Friday. And then after that, the next Friday following, September 4th, the board chambers are also open.
Fridays are out for me.
Is there another day in that first September week that might be available?
Monday, September 7th. And I don't think that's all.
That sound,
Calendar.
Yeah,
Oh, is
that's
that
my
what?
birthday.
that's,
Okay,
I think
never
that's
mind.
a holiday.
thank you.
Thank you. We're
Let's
not
not
gonna
do
do
that
that
one.
today.
Yeah. So then the following, or the next Friday, the 11th is open. And then Thursday, September 17th is open.
What is our regular day in September?
Is that our next regular
Right.
meeting?
It's September 10th,
10th.
isn't it?
Yes, so Thursday, September 10th
Okay, so,
is our next regular meeting.
all right.
So we'll do the EIR on September 10th.
Okay, so if all goes, fairly well, then we'll do the 21st, the 4 of them. We'll do the 27th, the other 4, and September 10th, the EIR.
And then also on that Thursday, the 27th, when you're doing the second 4, let's add the land use designation map. Because we don't want to miss that part.
Okay, we'll add that. We'll add that assuming we can do that. Okay.
Yes.
We'll add that to be last.
Great.
Land use. Now, hopefully this will give people more time. This is one of the things of feedback that we got, a lot of feedback that people were asking for more time with the area plans, and so this will give people a little more time. We want to be thoughtful and provide time for people to give input and to create the best possible document as we can, since this will be serving us for a
20
number of
years.
years. Although we have learned in this process, the plans can be reviewed on an annual basis. Is that correct?
They can be reviewed as often as the board directs us to do it, but we have added actions within the planning area elements to update these elements within every 5 to 8 years, but that is still in draft form. It can change,
Okay,
while acknowledging that it is a very heavy lift for staff to handle those updates.
right. I would just suggest that a 5-year increment is a good chunk. Things change quickly, and we
do.
want to be as responsive as possible.
So just to confirm, we'll cover our countywide elements today: water resources, agriculture resources, health and safety, geothermal resources, and the noise elements. And then on the special meeting for the 21st, we will present Cobb, East Lake, Lakeport, and Rivieras. And then on the special, or not, the next regularly scheduled meeting on the 27th, we will present Lower Lake, Middletown, Kelseyville, and North Lake, as well as the land use designation map amendments. And then at your next scheduled meeting, your regular meeting on September 10th, we will present the environmental impact report. And that one would be looking for recommendations from the board at that point.
So at that, our September meeting, we will be in the position of recommending to the board
Correct.
all the elements that we have gone through, all the plans that we've gone through.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, this has historically been done by motion, but if the commission prefers, I can prepare a planning commission resolution to be adopted as a formal instrument of your recommendation.
I think I'd like it to be a formal recommendation.
Good. Okay, I'll work on that, and that will be ready.
A couple of questions, since we're opening this up, certainly for a lot of input. We've been given a lot of written input. I see people here to give verbal input. How is this input going to be addressed or utilized or folded in, or how will people know they stand up and share some concerns? What's going to happen to those?
So similar to any planning commission meeting, public input is received by the commission and considered by that commission. And then direction is done by that commission. So it's not necessarily that it will result in any edits or changes, but it's public input that is since this is a public hearing, it's welcomed.
I would hope that maybe it could be added to the beautiful 115-page document that you folks put together, the general plan and local area plan comments inventory. No?
We will not add to that at this time. That was a considerable time expenditure of staff as a courtesy because the GPAC recommended it. We don't have that kind of time right now in between going back to LAPACs and hearing planning commission hearings. So that was a courtesy document. It's not part of the general plan. It was just to assist the public in understanding a little more about comments that were integrated versus comments that were declined for various reasons.
So let me just make sure that I understand. So if someone gets up and says, I would like to make a recommendation for the water resource document, which is XYZ, XYZ, and is it our determination whether or not that is added to that particular plan?
Whether you would recommend that amendment, yes, that is the planning commission's purview in your meetings. This is different than the LAPAC workshops, the stakeholder, the editing meetings. This is different than that because that was during the whole process, and we took all of that input and evaluated it and made changes as appropriate. This is now a planning commission public hearing where you're taking in recommendations, but you are overseeing them. So I don't want to bypass your power and assume everything is going to just be changed.
I want to understand what because all these things that are in the documents now were juried by your committee or your working group.
As well as the local area plan advisory committees and the general plan advisory committees and the community input that came in through our website.
Well, some of the things in the plans did not necessarily come from all those different places.
They came from all those various places. Yeah, or tribal input, because during our process, we did have deliberate time periods where we sought the tribal input on the documents themselves. And so edits have come in from a variety of sources.
So then we will decide at this point in time whether any of the recommendations that come forward are to be added to the plans.
Yes,
It's-
public input is naturally directed to the commission at this time.
But it's also a recommendation from the commission.
Oh, right, to go forward to the Board of Supervisors, I understand that, but we will okay.
Yeah,
Just wanna-
so slightly different format than it
Yes.
has been for the past 3 years. Because we're at the final hearings now.
Right, okay, so then, after we go through these, we decide on what comes in, what comes out. Will that be reflected in one more edition of the document?
Possibly. It may be reflected in, actually, at this point, it will be more reflected in the staff report that goes before the board, as far as recommendations specific to the Planning Commission. I don't know that we have the timeline available, nor the funding, to go back and do another revised draft, other than the final draft that will reflect Planning Commission's recommendations and board's decision.
So okay,
Due to funding sources as well as state law, this final planning document needs to go to the state before the end of the year. So we are up against an ending time clock, which, of a 3-year process.
but we find right now that we have just a little more time than maybe we thought initially.
Yes.
So is everybody clear about?
Additionally, just to continue that timeline explanation for the public and the commission, an item is going to go before the Board of Supervisors on the 28th meeting, I think, asking for a special meeting for the board to consider the general plan documents. And that was, I think, the 5th Tuesday in September. However, I'll have a much better idea by that date of if that is still a realistic date for the board, because I have to take in the recommendations of the Planning Commission into the staff report. And it takes time to do all of that, along with the normal Board of Supervisors agenda timelines. So I may request an alternate special meeting date at that time. So, but I'm kind of just learning or taking in the input as it's coming right now, and we'll be much better able to advise the board at that time on when a good date would be.
Okay. Yeah, questions?
I have a procedural question. The comments inventory, that the 115-page document that was very useful. The last column is labeled public comment, and it appears to me, it says in there whether the comment was accepted or declined and what action was taken.
Yes.
So is that possibly mislabeled? It says public comment.
Right, and rather than county action.
Correct.
Yeah,
So it
I
should
agree.
be labeled action taken. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you. That was a very useful document, and I'm thinking that what we do can be added to that somehow, but that's your problem, not mine.
Thank you. And there were a variety of reasons why comments would not have been integrated. Some of them could have been that it belonged in a different section, or it had already been included in there, or in cases like I did the final review of every public comment after the team had reviewed it. Sometimes they're not best practices for planning. Other times the board's already taken a stand on something, and so if I was aware of that stand, sometimes that was part of it as well. So there were a number of reasons, but every public comment that had been integrated during that public input period was gone over with by the whole team.
And so those comments that say accepted
Yes.
are in the summer
You'll see
version.
those reflected in the redlined version, the fall version. Yes.
Any other questions on procedure, what we're going to do today? All right, well, this is new to us, so bear with us.
It's new to me.
So are we ready to go? Did you have any
If
other
you would like to
presentation?
accept that public input on the elements that we are not considering today, perhaps you'd like to do that now rather than make everybody wait till the
Oh,
end.
okay, I didn't know if you had anything that we need
This
to
is
do
a
right
good
away.
place to pause.
Okay, all right, so with that, so the agenda's changed up, and thank you for being patient as we work through that process. So for those of you who have come today and wanted to speak on your area plan, we'll give you the opportunity to come up to the lectern, state your name, and share your comment. We'll take that in. Now, let me ask you this, since this is not on the agenda, is this where we decide whether or not we wanted to have, to start the list of accepting them?
Certainly, the Planning Commission is welcome to confer and discuss on the public input that you hear right now.
Okay,
But given that it would be preferable just to make note of it right now because you don't have the context of the area plan in front of you. So it's up to the commission, however you want to handle it.
okay. How would we like to do that? Thoughts from other commissioners?
I'm wondering if we can discuss the other public comment that was made in any way about possibly, I mean, it occurs to me that maybe we could extend the appeal window for the folks who came to discuss the other item that's not on our agenda today.
I have already spoken to that party, and I'm going to work with them offline from here because there are a number of questions that I have, and I want to go back and do that review to be able to substantiate our public notification process. So I'm happy to work with them offline, but you're welcome to have them come back up if you like to present, though the Gwinnett project, the subdivision map, which has not been approved, not even tentatively. All subdivision maps, as this commission remembers, were separated from the other entitlement process when Gwinnett Valley went through, other than being described in the general plan of development and the specific plan of development, because they weren't ready. We had determined that they needed additional work in order to protect tribal cultural resources. And so we are now processing the first subdivision map with the others in line, and that's when they're going to go through their formal process. So they were approved in concept as part of the project, but they have not received actual subdivision entitlements.
So what I'm thinking is, as a journalist, I'm aware that things have really changed in journalism, and the law might not have kept up with that. So public notice used to be, and as I understand it, it still does, is it's verified, it's achieved by publication in I can't remember the terminology, newspapers of regional.
It's a newspaper of record, yes,
Right.
which in
And-
our case is the Record B. And as they described in their public input, if the project is larger than 5 acres, the notification goes from a 300 to a 700-foot radius of the parcel.
And
So that may not include an entire neighborhood. It would include property owners within that area, which also is problematic for renters because it does not go to that exact street address. It goes to the property address of the owner on record.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
My pleasure. It is also noticed in the Record B. It's also usually picked up and shown by Lake County News, our online paper.
The only question I wanted to, I seen county council was going to respond earlier, and so I had kind of the same idea. I mean, we acknowledge that the public comment was made. Is there going to be a follow-up hearing or any type of notice? And that's what you're going to work through with.
You're welcome to submit their public input when the actual map comes before you for consideration. But I know that we'll have plenty of time to have discussions at that point, and I'll be able to verify the public notification. I want to go back and take a look at the record, make sure we did it right.
So the,
Appeal times, and I'll confer with county council as well, because appeal times, we don't just make those up. Those are set by law.
Yes,
so
so
the further discussion would be during the discussion of the Middletown area plan, is that correct?
if
The
I'm,
Gwinnett Valley project is technically not part of the Middletown area plan, so I'm not sure that it would have any relevance during that part of your deliberation.
Okay, county council is.
if I may,
Waving over there? Oh, yeah.
that's okay.
Can't see it.
Director Turner is correct. They are two separate projects in this instance. Today's item is the general plan, and while it may govern certain uses and projects and the sort of plan of the county, obviously, it's not, the Gwinnett project is distinctly different. So that would be another item. You can certainly give, that would be a different item not on the agenda today. You can certainly give staff direction, like if you want to understand the notice that had been done and beyond what was explained today, then you can certainly give staff direction as to provide that information when it comes to your commission. The appeal periods are set by ordinance. It is something that is set by the board. It is not within your power to amend those. You cannot waive them, and you cannot change them.
Thank you, that answers my question.
Yes, so the public comments for any item that comes before you, but especially for things that relate to, for example, the EIR for the general plan and the general plan themselves. For an EIR, those and any CEQA decision, the comments that are put before your planning commission and the board become part of the public record. So they are considered at each level of review. So if a decision is appealed to the board, those comments would follow the appeal, and that would be part of the record. If something is challenged beyond the board, then the transcripts and the videos of your meetings will follow that challenge. So they will not be dismissed. This isn't the only time that they would be considered. However, there are processes in relation to use permits and environmental review which set specific comment structures, so timeframes, and then if a person in the public submits their comments within that time frame, then it's incorporated in written form in, say, for example, the EIR. And but if it's outside of that time frame, then it isn't incorporated into the written form, but it's not dismissed. It does follow. It's part of the record, so it will be considered and included, or at least included. How the board or any other reviewing authority weighs that evidence will be up to them. So, but it won't be just left to silence going forward. Your decisions here will be a recommendation for the general plan, which means that there will be another opportunity for public comment and public participation at the board level. So anyone who chooses to participate here also has further opportunity to express the changes they'd like to see or things they'd like to see as different, and then the board would weigh it like your commission weighs it when it's brought to you.
Okay, and my last, I guess, question to the non-timed items, public comment. We wouldn't discuss them, we would just direct staff if we wanted more information.
Correct. So comment, generally speaking, is not a conversation with the person who's commenting. It is a person providing evidence to your commission to consider for the decision that's in front of you in that moment. If it's comments provided at the start of a meeting for the general comment period for things that are not on the agenda, you are by statute prevented from considering that on that day, because not only do we want you to consider the comments of that person who came in, but we want you to consider the comments of everybody else who may be interested, so notice has to be given. So we provide notice for an agenda item later. So if you do receive comments, you may weigh them as you see fit if they relate to an item that you are hearing that day. If not, if they don't relate to something on the agenda, then you can certainly give direction to staff to say, we would like that agendized for the future, and here's what we'd like to see, the information we'd like to see, and the discussion we'd like to have.
All right, are we ready to go? Okay, so thank you for helping, being patient while we work through some of these things. All right, so we will open it up for public comment for those folks who have come to speak on their area plans. So please step forward, lectern, and introduce yourself. And you have 3 minutes. And we may be able to ask questions if we need clarification, correct? Okay.
Hi, I'm Mary Jo Velasquez. I'm the president of the board of the Lake County Land Trust, and I'm also the lead steward of Kulanapo Wetland Preserve, which is on the just south of Lakeport. I wanted to explain why we didn't, you have a letter in your packet requesting a change in the zoning for Kalanipo. I wanted to explain why we didn't bring this up before. I came to public meetings specifically to protect Rodman Preserve on the north side and Kalanipo on the south. I knew we were an ag preserve, and I looked at the documents online of what you're allowed to do in an ag preserve. You can have a single-family home. You can have barns. You can have ancillary buildings. You can have wineries, tasting rooms, and even restaurants. It didn't occur to me we wouldn't be able to do any of that because we're not actively in ag. And I did not see that in the document. And my conclusion from that is you're not supposed to be an ag preserve if you're not in agriculture. The Kalanipo Wetland Preserve is 90% wetland. We have areas which there was grazing happening that are now designated part of the lake. We're mostly wetlands except for where the barn is that we want to replace with a pavilion the same size. Sorry, I get emotional thinking about it. We need to be all open preserve. We have part of the preserve is open, and we need to be completely open. We want to have public events there. We want to use the pavilion to have science classes there, microscopes, taking samples, kids, adults. You know, we had a geologist speak at Boggs Lake, which was really well received by the public. We wanted a venue that we can use. Also the Big Valley, we're co-managing with Big Valley Tribe of Pomo Indians. They want to hold events there. We need more public access, facilitated public access, and we can't do that unless we're designated not ag preserve. Thank you.
Also, if I could add context to that, I did request that the Land Trust draft a letter for this land use designation amendment, even though it is at this late time, and even though it is deemed agriculture, this would be moving it out of agriculture to resource conservation, which is appropriate for this land trust in overseeing and stewarding the land. So while we are extremely hesitant and leery against moving any land out of agriculture for the purpose of forever stewardship, the wetlands did seem an appropriate request to me. So I actually did request that they present this letter to you.
Any questions?
I don't think that it's appropriate that we discuss it at this time, but I do have I would like to discuss it when we're considering the Kelseyville. Is it the Kelseyville?
Well, that would be in the land use designation map amendment requests, which is at the end of the second meeting.
Okay.
No,
so it's
actually the third. Yeah, the meeting on the what? 27th.
Okay. I would suggest we discuss it at that time.
And I think you do have that letter submitted as part of the public input.
We do. All right, so let's put that on our agenda for discussion for when we get to the land use. Thank you. Please step forward.
Hi, my name is Yolanda Chavez, and I live in Clear Lake Oaks, and I'm in the Orchard Shores area. And the owners of some land behind us and next to it is wanting to change this to commercial zoning. We are a single-family home area, and if it changes the zoning to commercial, the owner could sell the property, and we don't know what type of business it would be, after that. It could affect our property values in a bad way and or our homeowners' insurance. And so we ask that they not change this to commercial and leave this alone. The Orchard Shores HOA met with some members, a few months back, and we took a vote there, and people do not want this change. Thank you.
Can I just have clarification? Are you aware of this? Is this a proposal is it in the Lower Lake plan? Which plan is it?
This is on the land use designation map.
Oh, it's, again, a land use designation. Okay, thank you.
And I do appreciate Ms. Chavez's input. That was a topic of a number of our second phase of LAPAC meetings, but the POA meeting was taking place after after our LAPAC meeting, so I appreciate that update.
Okay.
Additionally, just as disclosure, I am working on scheduling a meeting with Holly Harris, who is part of the LAPAC on the East Lake communities, just to make sure that the update of the land use designation map is accurate as to what that LAPAC wanted. So we'll be working on that as well.
All right, so we will revisit this again when we do land use designation.
August 27th.
Okay, and we have, has something been submitted in writing, or you have something definitive of this?
Mr. Chavez, did you submit
There
something
is a
in
letter.
writing? Okay, good.
Okay,
Good.
A couple of people that have a petition that I think you may send to.
Awesome.
okay,
Super. Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
great.
started coming
It's
in
good
hot
to
and
have it in
heavy,
writing.
so
I just didn't remember that right off. Thank you very much.
It didn't come in as an e-comment. It came in, I believe, via an email.
Oh, okay.
Great. And let's just take a moment to encourage anyone who's watching who wants to submit comment. E-comment is the most efficient manner of doing so because it automatically gets forwarded to all of the commissioners as well as our staff, as opposed to sending an email directly to a staff member, which might cause an inadvertent delay.
Okay, good to know. Because we want to receive all the comments, because people take a lot of time and put together very thoughtful comments. Thank you. All right, 2 things for the land use. Anyone else in the chambers who would like to speak on issues with items that are not going to be addressed in the agenda today?
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Margot Kambara, General Plan Advisory Committee Representative, speaking for myself. Thank you so much for taking up this important work. It's a difficult task for all involved, including staff. One of my concerns, and thank you for taking the leadership to slow down the process so we can have a more deliberate review of the material before you. To that end, even though the schedule has been extended, it still might not be enough. And let me give you a few examples. Comments were submitted by the public on these drafts. And then the comments were collated into a comment inventory. Well, some of the decisions made were not enough specific information was given. Okay. And then others was, well, no, the text will not be revised as suggested because it's intentionally written that way. Well, that's not an explanation. I mean, not an explanation that sheds light on the thought process behind it. And that's where I'm concerned that it's not reflecting the priorities and the values of the communities. And to give you another example, at last night's Big Valley Advisory Committee, local area plan advisory committee member Mark Borganzani presented viewpoints of concern. Some of the material in the local area plan, wow, where did it come from? No explanation. It did not come from the community. The community identified points in the draft that should be revised. That wasn't done. Some points that should be removed. That wasn't done. And there are other things of that nature. And that points out to there is still a lot of work to be done on that comments inventory. So we have a reconciliation of, okay, where are the points that the community will have heartburn over that it's not addressed. And so it's a tough job that's falling on your shoulders, but gosh, the community is counting on you to help us navigate through this, to get the general plan that we as Lake County residents deserve and need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, before you move on to, if I may suggest that you might clarify what we are hearing public input on right now, as we've had a couple of people join us a little late that missed the earlier comments, and there may be also people on Facebook.
All right, so for those of you who joined us late, we have taken the agenda that was published on Monday and split it out. Today we're going to review the elements, the overview, water resources, ag resources, health and safety, geothermal, and noise. We're going to review those today. The other elements are going to be reviewed. I gotta look at my list here. On August 21st, we will look at the area plans Cobb, East Lake, Lakeport, and the Rivieras. On the 27th, which is our regularly scheduled meeting, we'll be looking at Lower Lake, Middletown, Kelseyville, and North Lake. On September 10th, and the land use. On September 10th, we will be reviewing the EIR. Now that's our plan. If any one of those days run long, we may have to push it out a little more. We have a little more time, not a lot of time, but a little more time than we had initially thought to do this review process. So, for those of you who came to talk about your area plan, we're offering this opportunity to give input on the area plans, and then of course people can come back during the regularly scheduled plan day and give other public comment and submit written comment as well. So that's our plan for today. Thank you for putting that in. But just before, gentlemen, you step up, do we have anybody on Zoom? How many? Okay, we have someone standing here, so please step forward, introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is George Wong. I reside in the Orchard Shores Homeowner Association, Clear Lake Oaks. Since I want to speak to the geothermal topic, in our last Earth meeting, I was speaking with the representative from GSX Energy, Coda. Her name is Coda.
Taking up the geothermal.
Okay, can I just ask you to take a pause? We are going to be discussing the whole geothermal element shortly. So we just want to finish with those folks who are going to be talking about their area plans. So if we could just take a pause and then come up when we have bring forward the geothermal.
Perfect.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so we say 2 people on Zoom? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Angela Amaral, Chair of the East Region Town Hall. I didn't see our East Region Town Hall or sent in a letter to the Planning Commissioners, which I did not see attached to the agenda, but I am assuming that you all received it. I would like to request some clarity. In the beginning of this meeting, you guys said that the Planning Commission will review any modifications to the local area plans. But how will you guys, if you guys are holding the local area plan meetings prior to the review of the modifications, how will you guys review them? It's sounding like you guys are setting August 21st for Cobb, East Lake, Lakeport, and the Rivieras, but I don't anticipate that the modifications will be completed by then. I'd also like to request that North Lake and East Lake be reviewed on the same date because of the similar concerns for District 3. So I'd like to respectfully request that Middletown, the Rivieras, and Lower Lake be done together on August 21st, and then do North Lake, East Lake, Lakeport, and Kelseyville in September, because I don't feel that 2 weeks is going to be enough time to get. There was a lot of concerns brought up at BVAC for Kelseyville last night. East Region Town Hall has a lot of concerns, and I don't think 2 weeks is going to be enough. I want to say thank you to Maria for scheduling a meeting with Holly to review the map for the shoreline, which is now East Lake area. But if we could do East Lake, North Lake, Lakeport, and Kelseyville at the beginning of September, that would be wonderful for us. Thank you.
Okay, before you take the next one. So, thoughts about reorganizing? I mean, we're just in the...
I have an opinion about that. I would support extending it. This is kind of a selfish reason, but I have class on Friday, and I hate to skip class. So if we, and this is a week away, August 21st is coming up pretty soon. So if somebody feels they need more time, I think we should give it to them. If we could kick it down the road to the next Thursday, I would support that.
To the next Thursday, meaning what date?
It would be September,
Well, starting August 27th with
August
our
27th, is that what you meant?
next meeting, and then scheduling something in September.
well, we already have 4 scheduled for August 27th, so
Correct.
it would be September 24th or 17th, whenever the chambers are available.
Okay, so our caller was asking for East Lake.
Well, I would suggest that we keep the lineup the way it is, but other people might disagree.
So I'm just confused. What were you asking for to be on the 17th?
To change the list of the agenda of August 21st, which is a Friday, to a Thursday date in September.
Oh, so eliminate the 21st and move it to September.
Correct.
So move Cobb, East Lake, Lakeport, and Riviera to the 27th, and then move Lower Lake, Middletown, Kelseyville, North Lake, and land use designation map to September 10th, and then the EIR on September 17th. Correct? Just shifting everything by a
Shifting
week,
down
by a
week.
meeting.
Yes, and I'm suggesting this because we have a request for more time. We've heard a couple people say that. It shouldn't be just because I have class on Friday.
Okay, so if we do that, and this caller was asking for a different grouping, we just did it rather arbitrary, I think.
East Lake and North Lake would naturally go together,
Yes.
especially since we did shift Lucerne from the shoreline communities to the Upper Lake Nice, and renamed those two, so that does make sense.
Okay, so,
I would agree.
okay, all right, so no problem, but let's start over so we all know who's coming on what days, huh? Okay, so we're not doing anything on the 21st. Got your day back.
Correct.
All right, so starting on the 27th, we are going to do, we're going to do Cobb, right? Okay.
Lakeport.
And, okay, instead of East Lake on the 21st, we're going to do them on the 10th.
Wait, let's just go to the 27th.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay.
If I could,
Okay.
how about Cobb, Lakeport, Rivieras, and Lower Lake?
I would suggest we put them together geographically. So we would do Cobb, the Rivieras, Kelseyville, and either Lakeport or Lower Lake. Does that make sense? No? Okay.
Middletown, Cobb.
All right, I'm okay with that. Okay, so on the 27th, we have Cobb.
Cobb, Lakeport, Rivieras, and Lower Lake is what I said.
Okay,
And you're separating to District 1
And then
areas.
the second one would be East Lake, North Lake, which go together pretty well, Middletown, and Kelseyville.
Yeah, Middletown's always off by itself, but Lower Lake and Middletown go pretty well together, but if they need to be separate,
That's a good point.
okay,
yeah.
okay. So then let's,
I prefer to keep Kelseyville at that later meeting, just so I have time to work with that late pack.
I'm sorry, Kelseyville at the what, the late?
At the later meeting,
Okay, so
Meaning September?
September 10.
correct.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
that'd be awesome, because then I'll have plenty of time to.
Yes, that
meet
would
with
be
them.
good. That will give you the time that I think that you need. Okay.
And on the 27th, can we do Lower Lake, Middletown?
Oh, and put the Rivieras down there, because Riviera's right next to Kelseyville.
I mean, we can do Riviera and Lakeport. Lower Lake, Middletown, Lakeport, and Riviera.
I'd like to suggest we take a break and think about it for a minute.
Right. Straining our brains. Okay, so let's take a, what time is it now?
Right. Do you want to finish public comment first
Oh.
on the,
Oh, yes, we have somebody in
'cause
the
we
Zoom
can
room. Thank you.
do this
Yeah,
after,
thank
but
you.
if we could finish
Leave
public
somebody
comment.
hanging there. Okay, so, last one in, oh, and do we have someone public comment from the, okay, hang on, let's just do Zoom
Was
and then we'll
Angela
get to you.
done
Okay,
on Facebook?
Yeah.
I mean, or on
Okay.
Zoom?
they're on Zoom?
Yes.
Have them zoom in and make their comment. We have one more comment from the room.
Zoom guest, please unmute.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. I agree with Angela. I am part of the Eastern Committee, and a lot of the stuff that we requested prior was not added. So thank you guys for doing that. And also, I like the fact that your committee, your guys' board requested for these public comments to be logged. You guys may be able to ask county council if you can recommend the county development to do that, if you guys have that power to do that, because I really do believe that it's very important to keep track of every public comment during this, because this is our blueprint of our county that every community member will be living with. Thank you.
Oh, before you leave, could you please
Yeah.
say give your name, please?
Yes, my name's Sterling Wellman.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, one more in Zoom? Okay. Another request for the tracking of the public comments, which I think we already had an answer to. All right, one more in Zoom and then gentleman here in the room.
Marty, please unmute yourself.
Thank you. My name is Marty Arberg. I was on the general plan and the Lower Lake local plan, and many of the modifications that were suggested were combined between the South Lake areas of Riviera, Lower Lake, Cobb, and Middletown. So it may be helpful to have those four done at the same meeting.
Okay, thank you. Please step forward. State your name in 3 minutes.
Hi, my name's Hank Lesher. I'm a member of the Middletown LAPAC. And Madam Chair, I heard you say that you come to realize that you have more time than you thought you had. And I just wanted to know how much time is that, and who's the person or the entity that's determining how much time you have?
We just learned that we had a little more time. Ms. Turner said at the beginning that the plan has to be approved by the Board of Supervisors by the end of the year. Is that correct?
It has to be actually received to the state by the end of the year.
Okay, so I would imagine that December is our sort of the last.
You know, actually, we do have PlaceWorks staff here. If I could defer that to Tanya to address, I would appreciate her input at this point.
Okay, so we'll get some clarification.
Oh.
On how much time we have and where we are. Was that your question?
Yes, yes. Well, when are you going to know that, Tanya? How much time we have? Oh, you're
Sure, yeah.
not Tanya. Oh.
My name is Tanya Sundberg, and I'm with PlaceWorks on the consulting team. There's not a hard deadline, just statutory deadline for any general plan that I'm thinking of. And Mireya, please correct me if you're thinking of something in particular. But we do have, I think what the main driver for our schedule throughout this project has been our funding source for the contract, which does, I think, end. My understanding is that our work needs to be done by the end of October. But Mireya, is there another statutory deadline you're thinking of that I'm forgetting?
Nope. That's why
Okay.
I brought you on here. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So the end of October, the Board of Supervisors needs to make their final decisions on the plans.
Unless they're going to allocate additional funding for us to continue,
Okay, so
which is
I
a
would
very
ass-
hard ask at the board right now.
So I assume that is the goal.
I think October is a realistic deadline for the board.
Okay. So that gives us a little bit of time, obviously, into September. So probably September 17th is probably our last.
That would be fair because it'll take me time with the agenda deadlines to draft a comprehensive staff report.
Okay. Well, that was a good question, good clarity for us. So September 17th is the goal for our committee, the Planning Commission, to be at the place where make the final recommendations of these plans to the Board of Supervisors.
Yes.
Okay.
But if we had more funding from the Board of Supervisors, we could go all the way into November.
Yeah.
If I could make note, though, the board actually, now that we're working on budgets, has asked for a significant decrease in all budgets across the board because of fiscal restraints. So I would not count on any additional funding being able to be procured to extend this. So let's go with the October deadline as a hard deadline for now.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
Hank, do you have any comments that you wanted to share on the Middletown area plan at this time?
No, I've submitted a letter to Maria, and she responded to me, and I look forward to whatever day you're going to decide to have.
As soon as we decide. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
very much. All right, so let's take a break. It's 10:15. We'll come back at, should we get 10 minutes? 10:25. Please take a moment break, and we'll be back in 10 minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, we're back. Thank you very much for allowing us a break. I just want to clarify, we did a little revising of our next meetings, so let me put them out there and make sure that we're all on the same page. So the 27th is our next regularly scheduled meeting. At that meeting, we will be discussing the area plans of Cobb, Middletown, Riviera, and Lower Lake. On September 10th, which is an extra meeting, we will be discussing East Lake.
Regular meeting.
That's
Oh,
a
excuse me,
regular, yeah.
September 10th is regular. Thank you. We're still going to be discussing East Lake, North Lake, Lakeport, and Kelseyville. Then the land use map, the land use designation. On the 17th, we will be doing the EIR and hopefully wrapping up and making our recommendations to the Board of Supervisors at that time.
Yes.
We do, I suppose, have a little more time after the 17th in case we get jammed up somewhere, but we'll know that as we go through.
Let's also
Well-
not cause the board to only have time for one meeting. The board may want to break this up as well.
Correct.
Okay, all right, so then.
Let's give them October.
Okay, so that will be our goal then, alrighty. Okay, so the development department will be notifying each one of those LAPACs when they're.
I'm happy to send out an updated schedule to all the LAPAC emails.
Perfect,
sometime
okay.
today.
So in case they want to make sure folks are here, get their comments in, they know when they're going to be up. Okay, all right, well, that was a process. All right, I think we are ready to start with, do you have other slides that you want to show us before we jump into these elements?
The slides are for the elements.
Alrighty.
Just going to do a brief recap.
Okay.
So that we're all on the same page.
Okay.
An overview of why are we here. This is a comprehensive update of the general plan and all 8 local area plans, which, as we are now pretty well aware since we've been talking about them the last few minutes, are 8 planning areas that divvy up our county, or the unincorporated areas of our county. We do not cover in our general plan the cities of Clear Lake and Lakeport. As incorporated cities, they do their own community vision planning. However, we did include them in 2 of our appendices, which are the climate vulnerability analysis and the Lake County evacuation plan. So hopefully as they do their community planning, they can access those as tools. Our 8 planning areas, go back, are Cobb Mountain communities. Thank you. Kelseyville, Lakeport, which is North Lakeport, goes around the city in South Lakeport. Lower Lake, Middletown, Rivieras, which is all of those 4 subdivisions in the Riviera areas. Shoreline communities is the old term for what is now called the East Lake communities. And then Upper Lake Nice, which is now called North Lake, and it also includes Lucerne. We also did a year of environmental review, which was last year, the preparation of an EIR, which usually takes like a year and a half. So this was a lot of work for our PlaceWorks team and a lot of review on our home team. And then not part of the general plan update, but a simultaneous process that kind of piggybacked on this process was the preparation of the climate adaptation plan. Next slide, please. General plan is a long-range planning document. It's a community-led visioning process, in that the community leads the visioning process, and it establishes our goals and policies and actions for up to the next 20 years. It directs future development. As this commission is aware, when we bring projects to you for consideration, we have to show you the ways that that project complies with the general plan, the local area plans, and the zoning ordinance. So this is a very important document for guiding our future development and growth and what we want to protect and conserve. Next slide, please. These are the different components. The left side is the areas that are required by law, and some of them are combined. The right side are optional elements. So by state law, we have to update the required elements every 20 years, and we have the option to establish other elements. Lake County has created a number of elements that are priorities and important to our county, specifically our agricultural resources, our public facilities and services, our geothermal resources, water resources, which talks about our lake, and the aggregate resources management plan, which regulates and talks about the extraction of natural resources from our quarries and our water bodies. For a special note, the aggregate resources management plan and the housing element were not part of this Lake County 2050 process. The housing element is getting started on its own update right now, and it will be integrated into the general plan when it's ready, but it has a different timeline. We had to wait for the state to release the RHNA numbers, the Regional Housing Needs Assessment numbers, and also the update of, I think it's the Hazardous Mitigation Plan. There's another plan that then starts our clock. So our housing element is due at fall of 2027. And so you'll be hearing a lot about that as well. Additionally, and this is just a side note, the Board of Supervisors has directed our department to prepare a notice for proposals for an energy resources element. That will eventually also be integrated into the general plan. And the board has designated economic development funding for that process. So we're getting started on that one. I haven't had time to work on the RFP yet because I'm all about bringing the general plan home, but that is on our to-do list as a high priority. Next, please. Next, please. Oh, wait, go back. One of the decisions the board made at the very beginning, so end of 2023, beginning of 2024, was a recognition that our 8 local area plans were all in varying degrees of outdated and obsolescence, as well as an ongoing community concern that the county didn't value the local area plans as highly as it did the general plan. Based on those 2 reasons, the board decided to bring in the local area plans into the actual general plan and make them elements, which is reflected in your agenda. That then gave us the opportunity to move a few things around. And so mandated elements aren't always standalone elements. As you've seen in the 2008 area or general plan, land use is a countywide element. But this time, we separated it out into the planning area elements or the local area plans. This allowed for more zoning in that we'll cover in more detail when we cover the planning area elements, just sort of how the communities made these things their own. But I can give you a highlight in land use where we added mixed use or residential uses in commercial zones. We allowed for medium density residential in local commercial and high density residential and community commercial in all of the planning areas except for the Rivieras. They don't want high density residential, and so they stopped it at medium density residential. So that's just one way a former countywide element could actually be a little more tailored to the individual planning areas. And we'll go into that more later. So you'll see the breakdown of countywide elements versus local area plan topics, and notice that there has been some change. There was community request to change it back, but we had gotten to a point where that would not have been covered in our scope. To take land use out of every planning area element and make it a countywide element again would have been it would have been problematic. And so we weren't not able to honor that request. Next. Oh, wait, one last thing. Again, new this year, or new with this update, is the environmental justice element. That was integrated into all the planning areas, and the purpose of an environmental justice element is to address communities and groups that are typically disenfranchised or possibly overlooked and experience negative impacts due to that lack of voice. So the state requires an environmental justice element to make sure that we are taking that extra time to reach out to these communities that sometimes don't have voices and protect their interests as well. Oh, don't skip over community engagement. This is a high point. Community engagement. So again, I will just mention that community engagement was a top priority of this entire process, not just with our local area plan advisory committee groups and those communities and the general plan advisory committee, which all of those were board established, but also integrating tribal government consultations throughout. And you'll see that resonated in a way that is, I think, a unique change, a very noticeable change from this general plan to last general plan. We definitely took advantage of the abilities and time of our county tribal liaison, Terry Logsden. She worked really hard to make sure that every tribal voice out there was notified and was met with and was heard. And so we really thank her for filling that role in our team. She's attended all of our team meetings, and because of her coordination, we have been a very regular presence at the Tribal Historic Preservation Officers meetings with the county. We held government-to-government meeting directly with tribes, and that was awesome because we met with a lot of their environmental protection agency directors from the different tribes, and a number of the tribal chairs even took time to give us their comments as well. And so we really appreciated her efforts to coordinate, as well as the time that the tribal members took to give us their input. Additionally, because the board prioritized and it's important to them to have the tribal voices in the community visioning process, they did establish tribal representation position in the General Plan Advisory Committee as well as the local area plan advisory committees. We started out with surveys and kickoff in open houses and kickoff webinars so that people who couldn't make the open house could still hear about the general plan and its purpose. Our first survey was about finding key issues that resonated across the lake. It was the same survey distributed widely. We attended the Blackberry Cobbler Festival to do our surveys. We had business cards with our QR code taking you right to the website where you could take the survey. We were there with our AmeriCorps team. They were amazing. These women were not afraid of approaching anybody. And so for all the days of the fair, they were out there doing surveys. We were almost as aggressive as that Century 21 real estate, that slaps the matching sticker numbers on you. We were probably just about as out there as they were getting people covered. And so because of their efforts and as well as the efforts of our LAPACs and our GPACers, we did get a great response rate from those surveys, which was then tabulated and synthesized and came out as a report on key issues that resonate around the county. We then did a second survey that was area planning specific, and I want to call out April Lieferman. She was on our General Plan Advisory Committee as well as participated in the Riviera's LAPAC, and that woman was great. She got out probably almost to every single house in the Riviera, making sure that their input was covered for that particular planning area element. But we also had extensive outreach and representation by a number of our General Plan Advisory Committee members and our LAPAC members. So these multiple surveys were very helpful in furthering the understanding of the community's visions and its priorities. We had we had 3 or 4 stakeholder meetings, one to reach out on the environmental justice, one for specific to agriculture, and then 2 for Spanish-speaking stakeholder meeting. Which one? And our local businesses. Thank you, Shannon. She's here to remember all the stuff I forget. We did initial kickoff presentations to every one of the 11 municipal advisory councils, and then we went back to them as well when we were at pivotal moments for public input collection. We really took advantage of these councils to leverage them for the community outreach. So we do appreciate their willingness to work with us and put us on their agendas regularly. Then last time, the 2008 general plan, when you follow the government code for notification and your project is going to affect more than 1,000 parcels, you don't do a direct mailer. You do a 1/8 page ad in the record B, in our record of notice. And that led to, ever since I was in planning and even before when I started with the county, it led to a large number of people not knowing what's going on, which is understandable because we're all kind of living our lives. And unless you're rolling around in this stuff like, staff is, you may not understand what's happening in the general plan, especially the land use designation amendments. We had significant land use designation amendments, particularly focusing on the SOS, the substandard older subdivision properties, and a number of LAPAC recommendations regarding changing some of the land use designations, either to reflect what's currently there or to reflect our desired change in the future. Because I wanted to avoid all of these complaints for the next 20 years from property owners who didn't realize what was going on, we did a direct mailing of every property owner that was included in the land use designation map amendments. Just letting them know that your property is on the list, and we had an open house just for those property owners so that they could come and take a look at the maps and voice their concerns. And that resulted in a small number, but a number of property owner letters of opposition, which we will cover when we go over the land use designation map amendments. And so I really appreciated that we took that extra step for public outreach and community engagement, so that hopefully all the planners that work there after I'm gone won't have to deal with as many unhappy property owners that said they were never notified. So we took care of that. As far as the SOS properties, we have over 10,000 of those, and so we weren't going to send them a direct mailer. But what we did do was on 3 separate dates, did a notification in the Record B paper just to say just to let them know, if you own a property that's within the SOS overlay, we are changing the land use designation from those properties from rural residential, suburban reserve, or rural lands over to resource conservation. That's a significant change because it addresses, the purpose is to address the problem that we have with these SOS parcels that are cost prohibitive to develop because of the many ways that they are substandard. One, there are no roads, there's no infrastructure. In order to actually develop, you'd have to build your own road up to current fire standards so that fire engines could get from the county road to your property. And you'd also have to get a little bit of land from every property owner between you and the county road, because the road as it was originally developed in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s is not enough. It's not wide enough to allow for today's fire apparatus and emergency personnel. And so changing it from something that tells public that you could build a house here to something that says there's no way you're going to build a house here is just a more accurate representation, and will stop people from getting taken advantage of in the real estate market now, which they think they're getting this really great deal for a property that's got these awesome views of the lake, and they come here and you can't get to it and you don't know where it is. And some of the properties have actually eroded away from the hillsides because a number of them have unstable soils, extreme slopes, things like that. And so a number of people over the years have been rightfully quite perturbed when they think they're coming out here to retire and they can't. It's not what they thought. So
And so what can they do with the property as under the rezone to reserve conservation?
under resource conservation, it will reflect the board's decision of their 2015 paper subdivision management plan of a highest and best use for maybe future trail systems or preservation of that land for open space rather than development. And because of input from the North Lake LAPAC, I did have conversations with the assessor's office because one of their concerns with this significant change would be, what does that mean to property taxes? But most of these properties within the SOS parcel have already been recognized by the assessor's office and reflected in their property valuation that they are not likely to be developed at all. And so there was not a significant change anticipated in the property taxes for those parcels.
So if I can ask another question, since we're talking quite lengthily about these parcels, where are the 10,000 properties located throughout Lake County?
Most of them are in the North Lake and East Lake areas. They're in the hills of Nice and Lucerne. We do have a small number of them that are out, a tiny one out in Clear Lake Oaks and a small number in the Cobb area plan. Good questions, thank you. Next slide, please. Oh, just also, I forgot to list in the staff report that we did present to the Agriculture Advisory Committee on the agricultural element, and received really great input from that group too. General plan overview. This is chapter 1. Here we go. Getting started.
Okay. Before we get started on marching through these, I just want to take a little. Do some people have to have a time when they have to leave, or because we'd like to have everybody here as much as we can, just getting a temperature of people's schedules.
I was hoping to get out of here by noon.
2 o'clock is a hard stop for me.
I'm here all day.
I'm here as long as you need me.
Okay. I ask because after we finish the general overview, I don't know exactly what you had next on your slide, but I would like to make sure that we do the ag resource before Commissioner Field leaves.
I'm happy to go in whatever order you like.
Okay, so I'm happy to start. So when was ag coming up?
It's chapter 4.
Yeah, just go ahead.
And we're skipping chapter 2 because that's the housing element.
Okay, so you'll be able to be here then? Okay, all right. Proceed.
Excellent.
Thank you.
The way I anticipated the format of presentation is going over just basically highlighting the different subject matters that are included in these elements. Then I have a slide for the goals for each element, and then we go back to just an open slide with a nice picture on it to discuss goals, policies, actions, the commission to ask any questions, the commission to allow for public input on that element specifically, and then to discuss any other input or comments.
Okay, so at the end of your presentation on the general plan overview, then we will ask for public input and we make our comments.
Indeed.
Okay, thank you, got it.
General plan overview. As it's titled, this tells you what the point is of our general plan and starts talking about what makes Lake County special as a whole. One of the new things, again, is our tribal land acknowledgement. Hopefully we got the village names correct, as well as the names that were put on the tribes by the state and federal government, I think. One item that came out of GPAC direction, which is the values, assets, and treasured qualities that we hold dear in Lake County. And then the purpose of both the general plan and the local area plans, as well as a description of the process that we did go through. And it culminates in a listing, I think, of the different LAPACs and the General Plan Advisory Committee members, which I really appreciate because they've all given a lot of their time. Next slide. There are no goals. Oh, go back, please. There are no goals in the general plan overview. It's basically a statement about who Lake County is and what we hold dear. And so we have no goals, policies, or actions, but I'm happy to take any questions that the Planning Commission may have just about the general plan overview element and open that up for public discussion. Again, our point of going through all of these presentations is to make sure that you end up in a resting place that this is a complete document and an accurate representation of our county.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to open this up for public comment before it comes back to the commission. So if there's anyone in the chambers who would like to speak to this particular element, step forward, state your name. You have 3 minutes, and we'll see if there's anyone on Zoom. So we'll go to the chambers first.
Madam Chair, Commissioners Margot Kambara, I have more of a question. So at the General Plan Advisory Committee, our chair, Denise Rushing, recommended that we have a value statement placed into the general plan. And I have been going through many of the local area plans. I've been trying to get prepared for this workshop, so I apologize. I have not been able to look to see if that value statement is in there. So I bring that to your attention that excellent. I'm glad to hear it. So that was my main comment. And I'm going to repeat another comment because it is so important. This is the overview. Correct. But I'm talking about a fundamental flaw in the organization of the general plan. And that has been brought up by the General Plan Advisory Committee by our chair, Denise Rushing, and it has not been addressed. Well, let me rephrase that. It has been addressed, but it's been posed as a budget problem and as a scheduling problem. I suggest to you that we reframe this as an opportunity that will be wasted. We have an opportunity to set the direction for Lake County unincorporated area for decades. And if we are going down the wrong path for whatever reason, now's the time to course correct. Now's the time to find other solutions. And if that means looking for other grant money, let's do it. And the point is, we as a county started this revision, this updating of the general plan ahead of schedule. We are not bound that how it was explained to me early on in the general plan process is that we were starting ahead of time. We are not due to have our updates by the end of the year. So can we please do the right thing? A job worth doing is a job doing right. Let's do right by Lake County residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone on Zoom, Yolanda? Nobody. All right, so we'll bring it back. Oh, guess we'll close public comment unless there's anyone else from the chambers. All right, we'll do that. We'll bring it back to the committee for any comments on this particular document.
I have a comment. Excuse me. So I guess one of the things I had hoped for early on, and I know it was mentioned, is a tribal specific element. And so we're talking about the growth, the planning of Lake County, and without a tribal element, it's assuming the tribes aren't going to grow. And that's incorrect position to take, not necessarily the position that the county's taking, but to again look at how in building relationships, how do tribal governments and county government work together. There's all types of opportunities, but in terms of land use, I'll speak to my community specifically. Our tribal trust land sits next to the most contaminated site in Lake County. And I don't see our tribal trust land being in that same place forever. And so without any discussion or any opportunities to have a conversation about what that might look like, that can create maybe a burden in terms of seeking to purchase land here in the county, which I don't know if everybody knows that tribes have to get permission from the County Board of Supervisors, which is, to me, a little harsh, that if we want land moved into trust, the county has to sign off on that. when tribes are a federal government agency and institution. That's a little backwards. And so I know there's been historically attempts, especially with my tribe, where we were denied by the county government the transfer of lands into trust. And so when we're thinking long-term, we're thinking future, I would have hoped those discussions would have come out. Maybe they came out in some of the conversation with the tribes, and maybe they didn't. And so in terms, I think, of building relationships, building government-to-government relationship, that would have definitely been important to include. And so although this general plan from my review does include a lot of new comments and actions and incorporation of tribal input, which is a blessing and which is good to see. I just hope we would have took a little further step in trying to build off of the opportunities, the same land that, even in our statement that we share and steward, there are opportunities that are going to be missed without those specific elements. And so I wanted to share that. And kind of, as a former tribal council member, those are things I know our council has talked about previously. I don't know what other tribal councils have discussed around that specifically, but I know there's been conversations on how do we start to identify potential available lands here in the county to expand tribal land holdings. And so that's just a comment I wanted to make and have on the record.
Is there a specific ask that you have in mind?
Well, there's no specific ask other than the tribal element, which was brought up in the discussions and wasn't moved forward. So I think we're in the game. We're kind of a little too far now. I think it wouldn't have the attention it deserves, but to have it on the radar and to be considered moving forward. And I don't speak for any tribe. I want to make that clear. That's my own personal comment as a planning commissioner. And so that's kind of just a general comment.
Thank you. Perhaps we can put that on a list to explore how that might be.
I am making a list of recommendations so far that reach consensus so that we can revisit them at the recommendation time.
I would like to suggest perhaps we could have some kind of seminar or training or something. I would personally like to understand what it means to have sovereign land, and vis-a-vis federal government. We're also dealing with, different cultural entities. We have 7 different tribal entities, as I understand it, in this county. I would just like to understand it better, and I think the public would too. I hear a lot of different things being said in the community. I don't know which one is correct, but maybe that's something we could.
Yeah, I would agree. There's a wonderment of what the relationship is, how we work together, how we can support each other. How we can have a symbiotic relationships. So I think that the point is sort of, it would be helpful perhaps this would begin to address the concerns brought up here. So if we could.
A desire for a tribal element was strongly advocated for by Mr. Bill on the General Plan Advisory Committee. We were not able to accommodate it as part of this process. However, should this recommendation go forward to the board, I'm happy to present and advocate for it.
Well, perhaps even before we get to the developing an element, we need to know what's what, who's who, and how, those kinds of things. Our relationship.
Are you suggesting like a workshop?
Yes, I'm suggesting a community conversation, if you will.
Our tribal liaison was here earlier, and she has actually been working with the local community college and the tribes to, I think most tribal governments, to establish a community educational program to understand the tribal history. What does it mean, to work with sovereign nations?
I think maybe we're asking for something very more specific, not maybe a class or something, but have a specific designated
As a
event.
planning commission training in the future, I'm making note of that.
Yeah. Uh, we have closed, well, it's a workshop. Go ahead, ask your question. Okay, okay, it's got to be a quickie.
Yeah, I really like your comments. I think it's great. I think that in government in general, we talk a lot, but we don't walk the walk. And there's nothing like the tribal constitutions, especially when it comes to protecting the environment and understanding growth. I think that we have to look at things from the point of view that if their constitution has some really great stuff about the environment, you know, i.e. water and fish and things like that, it should be our goal to follow in those grounds. And I think it should be public knowledge, I mean, right here in the county, that each tribe's, you know, constitution be posted someplace so you can read it. Because nobody likes a hypocrite, okay? It doesn't matter what the color of your skin is or what your race is and all that. But the tribes, they have some very, very good stuff in there that we don't talk about on a regular basis, but it dictates our future and it dictates our past. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Good job, brother.
I think.
Can you state your name, please?
Oh, thank you. I think if we had a workshop, but it needs to include more than just the planning commission, I think. Yeah.
We will make note of that.
Okay.
I think it's the greatest idea. It will take some time because we don't want to not make sure that every tribe has its voice, because every tribe is it's not like tribe 1, tribe 2, and they're the same. Each tribe is unique in
Right.
their sovereignty,
Right.
and so we want to make sure that it'll be comprehensive and vetted by
Right.
everybody.
So that everybody understands what clear expectations are from everybody.
Mhm.
That we're all living together, and how we can support each other and have clear expectations.
Neat.
Okay. I've, excuse me, a couple of comments on the on this general plan overview. I made some comments on my own copy. So I had to wonderment about on the first page. There was a shift in the original language. It sort of went from a strong statement to an aspirational claim. One of my favorite things, aspirational. And it says, county's open lands, natural resource, have vast potential. You took out thriving. I liked the original language. I
The
didn't.
removal of thriving was a request from the public.
Pardon me?
The removal of the word thriving was a request from the public.
So where are you?
I'm on page 1. I understand that, but page 1.
Yeah,
my-
first paragraph.
The first paragraph about the middle. It starts with the county's open land. There are a number of places in these plans that there's some slight shifts in the language,
Mhm.
which make a difference in the tone.
Absolutely.
And so my wonderment here is, the statement as it was originally printed was a good, strong statement. This changes the tone, and so my wonderment is I understand somebody questioned it, but what was it, the whys behind it?
If you like, sure.
We had several meetings with, in a variety of formats with ag stakeholders throughout this process, and several folks from those groups recommended against the word thriving, specifically because they wanted it to be acknowledged that ag is not exactly thriving right now and that there's a struggle, and they wanted that to be acknowledged in the plan. So while I think that maybe we're it's a significant, but maybe not doing as well as thriving. So open to the commission's suggestions about how to walk the line on that one.
Well, it's to foster a thriving agricultural base.
To foster.
To foster. It's not a statement of the current economic situation, which in ag, as in many, things ebb and flow. And so, since this,
Yes, I would agree as far as that we have to stay away from trying to create copy that describes a moment in time for a general plan, of course, that has a life of 20 plus years. So I think we want to be careful with that, but, the reality of the situation is that with agricultural in general, it is constantly challenged. It's sometimes thriving, sometimes challenged. So that's the ebb and flow and ups and downs of the natural life cycle or cyclical nature of farming.
so my request is to just return it to the original statement.
Noted.
Because that as Commissioner Rosenthal said, this is not just a today snapshot.
Correct.
So
And this, the word foster before that does indicate that that's what we're trying to do,
right.
is create a thriving agricultural
Yeah, so
industry.
if I may, I actually disagree with Chairman Zoller. I do think we should foster a thriving agricultural base characterized by small farms producing a variety of specialty crops. That is not what we have now, but...
Well, you could say foster a significant agricultural base, because I know that there's been a lot of conversation about increasing opportunities for ag in the county. So,
And allowing for and encouraging and supporting diversification of ag uses on land was also one of the priorities of this update.
right. Okay, that was my suggestion on that page. Oh, okay. On the next page, in the red, which is all new, one of the things that as I read through, not every page, but because there are 400 pages in the state's recommendations for putting together these plans, but one of the things that was replete through it was consistency over the plans. And I just noticed on the paragraph under the box on page 2, a history, and it's different from the history that's in the North Lake plan. And I'm just looking for both consistency, and I think that when we're making statements of history, there should be an attribution to where the information comes from. And that happens in several other plans too. Statements of history, it's like, so from where was this sourced?
I'd like to second that comment.
Yeah.
Sure.
Throughout the document, I wondered what the source is. And, I'm a journalist. You have to attribute everything you state. You have to say where you got it, and that would be helpful.
Yeah. And that really gives the statements and the plan a lot more gravitas, because it says, okay, we just didn't think this up. We actually sourced this from a valid source. So that one there. Oh, on the next page is the same thing. Citation of origin, and then I just did have a wonderment. Under tribal history, there was a change from approximately 3,000 then to 6,000 to 8,000. So I just wondered, okay, that was a major shift. Again, the citation of where this information came from would help to support whatever figures were noted.
A number of the wordsmithing and final results of those areas were achieved through meetings with tribal historic preservation officers and various tribal members.
Okay. And I have no problem with whatever changes needed to be made. Make a citation of where they came from, so that people know that's where they came from. Okay. Oh, I did one other question. There was also a shift in language. There's reference to European settlers And then in this one, European disease, and then some of it is just in settlers. So I just wondered, was there a reason for some of it being European and some just be settlers?
Ooh, good question. I will have to
You know,
double check
maybe
that.
they're the same people,
We did
but
have
they're
discussion
different
regarding
words.
European and just general settlers, but I don't remember. It was a discussion a while ago, so I
Yeah,
don't
and
remember. where we-
it happens actually several times during the thing, you know, and so I'm just wondering, you know, who are those guys?
Like,
okay.
who are the non-European settlers?
Well, you know, I don't know. You know, just you know.
You could use the term non-indigenous.
Anyway, that was something else. Okay. Oh, and in this wonderful the county values, assets, and treasured qualities, I think again it needs to be a citation of origin. Where'd that come from?
We worked that out directly with Denise Rushing.
Oh no,
from
I
the
know where
GPAC.
I know where it came from, but that's a statement that it's a very strong statement.
So we just cite the General
Cite-
Plan Advisory Committee.
Yeah,
then it worked
exactly.
on it?
Cite where that came from. It gives it more credence that you know this was a county group that came together and put forth these values.
I would suggest just using footnotes.
Oh yeah. And some of the pages have footnotes. Anyway, but just give a place where it came from.
So before you move on, if we can go back to page,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
The
ahead. Yeah,
general
I just
plan
I just
four.
was jumping ahead.
the fourth page. So there is a sentence just kind of ends in midair. The second paragraph, almost down at the bottom, again with the red copy. Scotts Valley Band of Pomo Indians also operate. And not sure where it goes from there.
It says casinos in the middle of the crossed out stuff.
Oh, yeah, there's another word. You're right. But there's still no period.
A question about how we're doing this. Do we want to go page by page, or do we want to go person by person?
I'd rather go page by page.
Okay.
At least we see the consistency of what we're going through in the document. So
Okay,
all right.
in that case, I'd like to go back to page 3.
Okay, sorry,
Um,
I just jumped ahead. Go.
We were talking about the number of Native Americans, a population in Lake County before European contact. And I don't remember where I read this, but I read 40 to 60,000 people lived here in this county. I have that stuck in my head. I can look it up.
We'll integrate that into our citation request from the PC.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, then let's do page by page. Anything on page 4?
I have a number. I'm an editor, so I find things. I think what I'll do is I'll just submit, spelling errors and stuff to staff.
Oh, if they're just small edits, not substantive changes. Okay, all right. If that's okay, then we'll go. 4, 5 was a map. 6, I already said about the citation for the county values. Anything else on 6? Oh, there is just a reference again to, it says European American settlers, that's crossed out, then it's settlers. So just sort of, just decide how we want to make that reference.
If I can jump in here.
Yeah.
The sentence, the construction of roads facilitated the establishment of churches, banks, and businesses, bringing more people to the area. I just don't think that's true.
What was the comment there? Oh, that's not valid? That the
Say which
building up
page
of the
that is?
town didn't bring more people to the area?
No, that it did not facilitate the establishment of churches, banks, and businesses that brought more people to the area. I don't think that churches, banks, and businesses brought more people to the area.
Oh, I see
Don't
your
worry
point.
about it,
Yeah.
it's not a big deal.
Yeah. That is, they came after the people were there. Okay, that's a good point. Okay, anything else on page 6? All right, right, we'll move to.
Just wanted some evidence on the wine industry. In the 1970s, a surge in the wine industry led to an 86% population increase county-wide over the next decade. I would just question whether it's the wine industry that did that.
We'll find that citation.
Okay, that's where those citations are helpful. Okay, anything else on page 6?
Natural resources, it says Lake County has an abundance of natural beauty and the community stewards over the region's vast natural resources, habitats, and wildlife. I'm not sure we have an abundance of community stewards, if that's what that sentence means to
I would
say.
dispute that.
Okay.
Yeah. I work with a number of different agencies that consider themselves community stewards or natural resource stewards. I don't think we need to cite a list of them in that case.
No, I don't. I'm just saying I'm just being fussy, I guess. The community stewards, community natural resources stewards, not community stewards, stewards of the community. They're stewards of natural resources.
Understandable specification, yes.
Anything else on 6? Okay, we'll move to 7. Anything on 7?
I question whether Lake County has untapped potential to grow its tourism industry.
Say where that one is, please.
It's line 3.
That sounds more like a point of view rather than
Yeah.
a disputation of actual data.
I'd just like to know where that's coming from.
That came from the General Plan Advisory Committee. You want to, we can cite that? Is that the request?
Well, this is an opinion. It says economic development and tourism. Lake County is an inviting place for small businesses and entrepreneurs with untapped potential to grow its tourism industry. That seems like an opinion to me. So I'd like to know whose opinion it is. That's all.
And I have I guess a question on clarification of historic resources. Is that including cultural resources or just specific historic resources? Because there's a difference.
We made a point of specifically highlighting tribal cultural resources. In general, just as a universal reference, under historic resources might include tribal cultural resources as well, but we've also separated that and highlighted it specifically for preservation and identification. So if you could read that sentence, I'd have a better understanding.
It says historic resources, Lake County's historic resources are cherished and actively preserved.
That could include TCRs as well as non-tribal. It would be inclusive of both because we are making steps and as far as goals, policies, and actions to preserve both and protect both.
So I'd like to have, if we could just have a quick discussion about the term historic. My understanding is the term historic refers to the recorded past. So there's a lot of past in Lake County that is prehistoric. It is before things were recorded. So is it appropriate to refer to tribal lives as prehistoric? Is that offensive in any way? Is it appropriate discussion?
No, we can definitely take a look at that. I don't think we would have purposefully omitted tribal cultural resources nor tribal historic resources. In general, just as general use, as far as CEQA goes, when we're identifying historic resources, they're referred to as cultural resources. And we also have a separate call out for tribal cultural resources. So that may have just been a general reference to all of it, not really intended to specify or exclude. But we're happy to wordsmith it if you want.
The only comment in the prehistoric is it's based off writing system, and that's where the term originates in that science. So if you have hieroglyphic or any type of writing, that's where the
That
historic.
would be an easy drafting fix,
Yeah.
then historic and prehistoric
Yeah.
resources. Good.
If I may, there is a definition for both state and federal levels adopted in the guidelines of the Office of Historic Preservation for what historic land or property means. If you like, I can give you sort of a general understanding. For federal, meaning FEMA or federal environmental regulations like NEPA, I think, a qualified historic resource is defined as a property listed in or formally determined eligible for listing in the natural register or historic places before a disaster occurs. So that's how they determine resource allocation. For the purpose of the state actions, California Health and Safety Code 18955 defines a qualified historic building or property as any building, site, structure, object, district, or collection of structures and their associated sites deemed of importance to history, architecture, or culture of an area by an appropriate local, state, or federal government jurisdiction. This includes structures on existing or future national, state, or local historic registers or official inventories, such as the National Register of Historic Places, state historical landmarks, state points of historical interest, city or county registrars or inventories of historical or architecturally significant sites, places, historical districts, or landmarks. There also may be local definitions, but I think our county parallels with the state on that. CEQA is very similar. Historical Preservation Office. They do separate out history resources versus tribal cultural resources as distinctly different. Tribal resources may qualify as, and often do qualify as historic, but they are also distinctly different because there are a different set of rules and distinctions that relate to those.
Okay. All right, so that's anything else on page 7?
I would just like to make a general comment that as we go through this, also with the general plan, we kind of have to think about so the end goal or the end use. From the world of marketing, you always have to think about what the audience is that's receiving this document at the end. And of course, as Director Turner has shared with us, how CDD uses this and how this is used in the Planning Commission. But we also have to consider that this is a document that often people outside this area, when they look to come to Lake County, that's what they would be looking at this document or looking at the area plan documents, deciding on, what they can and cannot do, where they want to live. So I think we also have to keep in mind as far as that the copy, all of the content needs to be truthful, but it also needs to express that vision that we want to achieve as residents here, as well as people coming to the area to welcome new people, what they can expect for that long-time vision of Lake County. Thank you.
Good point. We have a breadth of folks who will be the audience for this. All right, anything else for page 7? All right, flip over to 8. Okay, 9 is a map.
Yeah, and for the map, I would feel remiss not to make a comment. It's further down the line, of course, when we get to the area plans, but the map also may or may not change. But I do know from serving as the District 1 Planning Commissioner, I do know that both the territories or the regions that I represent, Lower Lake and Middletown, are not happy with the boundary that is, I believe, is depicted on the map.
So okay, so was there a process for boundary change, or is this under consideration?
Well, I think that will come under the discussion of the area plan.
Okay.
I'm just making note
All right.
that the map may need to may need to change.
have some review and perhaps conversation on the areas. Okay, so can we make note that we want to?
That will be part of your area plan.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, is
Oh, I
that,
know.
that'll come up in the area plan.
All right, so who's gonna remember that besides you?
I'm going to remember.
Well,
Okay.
and there are members,
So-
there are residents of, yes, of these
Okay.
respective area plans that,
Okay, so I want
Thank
to make
you.
sure that, all these things that are very pertinent, we don't lose track of them.
I am
It's because
happy
they're
to-
today and we're going to
Yes.
look at things
I
down
will
the road.
include a discussion of the LAPAC meetings and how that progressed.
Okay. Sharing the process,
Mhm.
right? Okay, all right. Thank you. Any other comments on the map? All right, we'll move to page 10, this is a very nice chart of the elements. I thought that was like charts. Nice visual, okay. Page 11?
Yes.
Okay, alrighty.
This is something that we should probably discuss when we get to that section, but in the general plan body outline, water resources, I would like to know whether it is appropriate to suggest protection from downstream users. At some point in Lake County's history, a whole lot of water was sold downstream. And I'm wondering if we can put some protections in place in this document, whether that would be appropriate to prevent the sale of Lake County water outside of Lake County. And the reason I bring this up is I would hate to see something like that happen again. And I had a neighbor, I think it was a couple of years ago, who was selling water from his or her pump, her well in Big Valley, to an out-of-county user. I believe it was an out-of-county user. There were trucks being filled with water 24/7 and driving out into a cannabis project. I don't know where it was, but it seemed like that is something that we should be thinking about. I don't know if this document is the place to.
Zoning code actually does have regulations regarding prohibiting exportation of Lake County water outside of the county, but also has criteria where it would be allowed. But what it sounds like to me is that's not permitted. That activity should have been reported to the Community Development Department and the Sheriff's Office so we could follow up on it.
That may be, I don't want to address that particular issue right now. What I want to do is address future issues and make sure that those protections are in place in the future if that's what the county wants.
yes. So county council, don't we have something on the books already?
In relation to water,
Yeah.
Yeah, exporting water outside the county.
my understanding is we do, as Director Turner said, that we do. I would have to take a minute to find each of them, but to tell you what they are exactly. But this document is not an ordinance, so it's not where we would put those restrictions. The board would put those restrictions in the Chapter 21 and any other chapters of the ordinance that relate to uses and permitted uses and non-permitted uses. Yeah, but you can certainly consider language related to goals in the general plan as far as perhaps resources maintaining, the priority being using county resources within the county and things like that. Because any ordinance adopted in the future will have to be consistent with this plan.
So that could be addressed in the water element?
The next slide, the water resources element.
Water
Yeah,
resources.
like, as I suggested, this is something we can address down the road. I just want to kind of suggest it now since let's think about it.
Okay, all righty. Anything else on page 11? All right, let's move to page 12.
Back to page 11, I just have one tiny little thing.
Okay.
Under circulation, I would suggest instead of using the word connected, it says for a more sustainable and connected Lake County, I would say accessible might be a more appropriate term than connected.
Okay. All right, move to page 12. I have comment at the big red section at the bottom. I read it and reread it, and I think that it just needs to be rewritten for more clarity. And perhaps it was just my reading through the red and then the crossed out red and trying to figure it out, but I just made a comment, needs a rewrite for clarity. So if you could just take a look at that. And I've, certainly my experience in doing these kinds of document things, you cross something up and sometimes you lose the, momentum of whatever you're doing. So if you could take a look at that again, please. Okay, so that's 12. We're on page 13. Any comments on 13?
The only comment I have on 13 is not, and I don't know that it needs to be incorporated, but I found it interesting that the survey, I guess it was the first survey, well, anyway, that there is a return given of the number of community members that participated at the end of that first paragraph. But I guess I was kind of wondering, given all of the information, the long list of the outreach, community outreach, what is the percentage of the community involvement overall, taking into consideration all of those factors, the participation in the survey, participation in the meetings, what is our percentage of the population of Lake County that has participated and engaged in this process in creating the updated general plan and area plans?
I do not have an answer to that question, and to achieve an answer to that question would take a lot of time.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, except that just a wonderment, the first round of surveys, you know how many you received back, correct?
123, I think. Yes.
Okay, so that 17, 18 according to this.
Ah, okay, make sure.
How many people did you send it to?
That
All
was
60,000 of us?
We don't send it out to every person in Lake County. We
It's
were
online.
relying on the website. So and we were passing out QR codes.
Right.
We were accosting people at the Lake County Fair
Right, no,
and
I
the
understand
Blackberry
that.
Cobbler
But
Festival.
what was your potential, what did you think was your potential pool?
We were
of
actually
votes?
surprised by the number of surveys we've received back.
No, that's not my question. Yeah, you figure that, in the county you have a potential of 60,000, okay? And so you received 718. So there's how you figure out the percentage of all the possibles, and so I think is that what you're asking?
So you want us to just work out a percentage right now? We
Well,
could
no,
do
I'm-
that.
No, I was just curious if they had that already, if they were kind of tracking that, so if not, then it's a bigger can of worms.
Right.
But, given that there was the response and the information that's included here, so, yeah. So anyway, it's included on the surveys, the response rate, and so I was just wondering on the overall, but if it hasn't been tracked,
Right, 718 is a lot, but, based on what the potential pool is. I think, was that what you were asking? I mean, wonderment?
No, again, my wonderment was about, what is the percentage out of Lake County, out of the community that has engaged in this process in various different facets?
I see.
Both the survey and in meeting participation.
I was just
So
thinking-
if that information hasn't been tracked, then, as Director Turner said, that would be a bigger project, and so I get it. I was just, when she was sharing the information with us earlier, that just kind of spurred that question, and so I thought I'd ask it with this page, but.
Right, so 718, and then down here, total of 112 community members participated in this survey, so,
I think that would be interesting as well.
yeah. So, okay, well, we don't have an answer right now. We'll just move on with, any other questions? I have a wonderment here. You very thoroughly gave the list of all the folks on the LAPACs, but you mentioned the environmental justice engagement, that there was at least it appears that there was one meeting. So I'm wondering who were those guys and how were they chosen? We certainly saw how the folks at the various GPACs and LAPACs, who those guys are.
Stakeholder meetings were not appointed committees similar to LAPAC and GPAC. Stakeholder meetings were invitations sent out.
So this was an invitation-only group?
We publicized the meeting through several community-facing organizations, social service organizations. It was a widely published event, and people opted in to attend.
Okay. Say what?
It was an open meeting, like
an open meeting?
open invitation.
Wondering,
And that was the case for all of our stakeholder meetings. We publicized them, and it wasn't an exclusive invitation-only group.
oh, okay. I just, I wasn't aware of it, so that just was a wonderment. So how many people attended, and was there more than one event for this group?
We had one environmental justice stakeholders meeting, one. Again, to this question, we would have to go back to our records to give you numbers on any of the questions regarding numbers of participants at specific meetings or collectively at meetings.
Well, I don't need the exact number, but were there 5 or were there, 30 or 50 or was it some?
5 to 10.
Okay. That's all I was just wondering. Okay. I mean, you gave a list of the others, and I just thought, well, who are these guys? Okay.
Yeah.
The rosters were for the committees that were established by the Board of Supervisors.
No, I understand that, but you make mention. I just wondered. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, just a comment to that too. I know in talking with my father, he was pretty disappointed to find out about the meetings that have already taken place. And so one issue with the community of Elim, that's an issue that I think can also benefit the county is the water right issue, and how through the Winter's Doctrine the tribes were locked out of any access to the water, any rights to the water, and the tribe feels like we have a strong case to reclaim our water rights and the water rights of the lake, and that's just information I know from sitting on our tribal council. I wouldn't know if that's anything on the agenda for the tribe today, but he had a lot of information that he wanted to share. And so when I told him the meetings were done, he was a little disappointed and maybe even upset with me that I didn't have more information for him. So.
Is that something that we can have more conversation about when we talk about water resources? Okay. All right.
If I could contribute, as far as water goes, water for California is a very complex thing. And while the county does have use regulatory authority, the county doesn't have a lot of authority over water rights. Those are dictated by a series of laws that go back to the founding of the state. And the county does, and their state regulations, the county doesn't have control over those typically.
Okay.
I guess my response to that is, then the county sold the water rights.
No, my understanding, you mean as far as the lake goes?
As far as the lake goes, yeah.
If they had rights in the past and sold them, then yes. I've heard a number of stories as to, and I haven't perused the the old records for the lake, but I've heard a number of stories as, someone else had them and they sold them, and rather than give them to the county sold them. I've heard a number of stories. But those transactions are governed by state rules. So the county wouldn't be able to adopt an ordinance, for example, which grants rights that they don't have control over somewhere else, if that makes sense.
I think this is a huge issue.
Yes.
Because as the Sacramento Valley and areas to the south fight over water, they're eyeing us.
And certainly the county could have a voice in that, but it wouldn't be, but the county doesn't have control in the sense of being able to regulate people's rights to water in that way.
We've already sold how much of Clear Lake out of
Yes,
Yolo County?
And I guess the comment originates too, because the first time this came up for conversation was in the 2008, 6, somewhere in there. And the tribal councils were meeting with the Board of Supervisors two representatives of the board, and the board had told us they were already in discussions with Yolo County Flood, and there was some type of 2x2 meetings going on with Yolo County and whoever controls the water rights, and basically told the tribes at that time they weren't interested in trying to support or help the tribe pursue any type of water rights.
Right, I can't speak for past boards or current board at all. However, I will say that YOLO is not interested in selling their rights. Various boards in the past have been very interested in clawing back those rights, but have been unsuccessful, and I don't see an argument going forward that would lead the county in a direction where they could do that, unless YOLO is willing to sell it. However, the legal structure that creates those rights that the county may have had and sold, or that YOLO has and could potentially sell on their own, those rules are not created by the county. They're created by the state. So the county wouldn't be able to amend the rules for water rights. And there are several layers of rules within California. We have a very complex water rights system within the state itself, and that is outside of the authority of this commission, and I think in many ways the board.
So something to pursue in a different avenue, but yeah. So water is, as you said, very complex in California.
Yes, and so are we ready to move on to the water resources
Okay, wait.
section?
Hang on, wait a minute. Okay, so
It is time check or whatever?
no, I'm watching the time. I just have a general comment about the general plan overview, and I made this comment at the GPAC meeting that in the area plans there is a lot of repetitive stuff. And I ran a check between Middletown and Kelseyville and Upper Lake, whatever they're called. And there were at least 40 or more statements that were exactly the same. And my thought, and what I expressed at the GPAC meeting, is if they are important, and they're important to be in every one of the plans, so they're important for the county, they should be pulled out and put under the general plan overview. And the reason, my thought is, because if they're in every plan, they're important for the county. Putting them in the general plan overview shows them that they are the county's responsibility or oversight for. And it narrows down the amount of stuff in the local plans, so that they're more focused on the individuality of each one of the plans. For instance, Kelseyville's plan, from when the last time it was updated, granted that was last century, I think it was 98, to the current, it's 2/3 larger. So that's a whole lot more added. So my thought was, if there are things that are in all the plans, they're important for the county. They should be under the county's auspices rather than in every one of the different plans. It just is an organizational structure that, to my view, is much more usable. The county then knows what the things are important. Everybody knows through the plans that they are important because they're in the county, and it takes a lot of that stuff out of each one of the area plans and narrows it down to a more manageable and usable document. So that's my suggestion, because you said there are no goals or anything here. I think
Those items that you talk about would more accurately get collected into a countywide element, such as land use, which is what I described in the beginning as moving from a countywide element to being represented in the local area plans, which is one reason why the local area plans look very different from the old ones. Instead of what we used to do, which is spend a year and a half focusing on a single local area plan, we updated them all as part of the general plan process. And so that's why some of the formerly countywide, such as land use and circulation elements, are now embedded within the planning area elements. If the Planning Commission wishes to make that a recommendation, I can work up an estimate for what we would need in additional funding as an amendment to the agreement, because that would take considerable time, additional time, which was not included in the scope of work. Nor am I volunteering to do it myself.
And this is what you referred to earlier, that there had been, you had received these recommendations or similar recommendations before, and you were already
to accommodate that
correct,
to a format.
because you were already on this track.
Correct.
And so, and the purpose of this too, as you had stated before, was it was an attempt to bring the area, to give the area plans the same amount of weight as the general plan.
Yes.
So, because in past being separate documents, for whatever reason, I never saw it as that way, but others have given the area plans less authority when making decisions than the general plan. So in your combining it all together, it was kind of a new structure, new format, and separating out the elements from the general plan that apply to the area plans and putting those into each one, so we have a repeat of much of that information in each and every area plan. But from every once in a while, there is some specificity to a particular area for, yeah.
As I was working through all of those specific planning area element, like specialties, I did realize that I'm going to have to be very clear with staff that they should not assume they know what is in each planning area element going forward, because there are a number of these elements that were stricken at the request of the LAPAC that really make that local planning area element its own unique animal. And so as our planners work to prepare staff reports, I want them to just be aware that they really need to take a close look at every planning area element, because there are differences in each one that may be applicable to future project review.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think we've.
If also I could just remind the commission that I do need to relieve staff at 12:30.
Right. So about 40 minutes.
We may want to consider an additional special meeting since we're on the first of 6 elements that we're supposed to cover today. But that I leave that with you.
Doing the best.
I think we should address that at 12:25.
Yep. Okay. So what is the next one on our list?
I would suggest we skip water resources and go back to ag, because you wanted to make sure you had a full commission for agriculture.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we do.
Yes, I agree.
Yep.
All right. I love that picture. Agricultural resources element. This chapter contains the following topics. Also, I forgot to mention that we did go to the Agricultural Advisory Committee. I just made note to put that in here. It has an overview of the types of agriculture that we have experienced in Lake County. It also covers what mapped farmland is, and that map for the county of Lake, or for the unincorporated areas. It talks about challenges and opportunities, specifically wildfire and smoke under climate hazards, drought and access to water resources, flooding and soil erosion, pests and diseases, that would be agricultural pests, farm worker health and productivity, and ongoing industry uncertainties. And then goes on to list the goals, policies, and actions. Next slide, please. These are the goals for the agricultural resources. That agricultural lands are protected from conversion to non-agricultural resources. I think one thing I want to make sure that you see resonates clearly throughout this element is Lake County's strong commitment to preserving agricultural lands. Second goal, reduced conflicts between agricultural and non-agricultural uses. At the behest or at the request of the General Plan Advisory Committee as well as the Agricultural Advisory Committee, we did additional text to highlight the importance of the right to farm ordinance, both in this element specifically and in each description of land use in the planning area elements. Next goal, a diverse, healthy, and competitive agricultural industry. This is where I think you're going to see some diversification support there for land uses. Next, a sustainable and resilient agricultural sector. That means an agricultural sector that is coexisting healthily with the environment and sustainable ag practices and is resilient to ongoing industry uncertainties.
So the term sector, what does that mean?
That means the agricultural folk, the agricultural industry, all land uses involved. Next.
Resilient, does that also apply to Mother Nature?
Yes, and specific
Elements
to
of
climate hazards,
yes.
climate-related hazards and impacts.
Thank you.
Fifth goal, an agricultural industry that sustains the housing need of farm workers. And last goal, protected timber resources and sustainable timber production.
Okay.
Now let's
So we'll open this up for public comment for anyone in the chambers, and then we'll go to anybody on Zoom who has any comments on this particular element.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Margot Kambara. I submitted several comments on this element quite a while ago, and so my comments received a response in the comment inventory. Some of them were accepted and others were declined. I don't want to go over every one that was declined, not even the ones that I feel that are very significant. I just can't do it in 3 minutes. And I appreciate your effort to be inclusive, and I appreciate your expanding the schedule and trying to get more public input, but I find this very frustrating, and I'm not surprised that more people aren't here because they feel it's a lost cause. And I'm starting to feel that too. And I'm sorry, I just can't do this.
So well let me ask, how might it be more not helpful, but more useful and more productive? Give us a suggestion. We're sort of
This is a workshop.
As we're going.
This is a workshop.
Okay, well, the clock, I mean, certainly the chair, it's the chair's discretion if somebody is wasting the commission's and the public's time and staff's time. Yes, please exercise, your prerogative and ask the speaker to wrap it up. But if you have a speaker who has concerns and took the time to write it out in concise prose as possible at the time, please hear that speaker out. Some of these comments got a response of, well, no, we're not going to do that. And that's it. And it goes to clarity, it goes to readability, it goes to engaging the public with what's in these pages. And if it's not approachable, the material, if it doesn't make sense, or if it takes too much thought to just decipher what's on the page, it fails. It fails the public. So what I suggest is, yes, allowing for some thoughtful discussion as you have, so we can get the issues out and have a discussion so we can improve this work product. And I still am uneasy that there's going to be enough time to incorporate your recommendations into the final product. I am very uneasy about that. So I don't know please direct me. How can I help you? Because I made several lengthy comments on the ag chapter, and some of them I thought were very important, and yet they're just declined.
If I may,
Go ahead.
I'd like to express my personal appreciation for your input. I have read the material that you presented, and it's articulate, it's thoughtful, and I very much appreciate it. I also can see whether it was declined or whatever, and I can think about that and make recommendations as well. I want you to know that you are being heard. Just because it's written doesn't mean that it's not being heard, if you know what I mean. So please keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I looked through this, and had similar wonderments about some of the things, and so if there are a couple specific ones that you could point out, maybe just a couple that are sort of paramount in your thinking that you'd like to have a review of, you can let us know. We can take a couple of those.
Off the top of my head, I can think of 2 or 3 topics. One is, if this is going to be a useful tool, the ag chapter, if this is going to be a useful tool for the county, we should be considering topics that are important now and the future. It is very silent or very vague on cannabis. It is such a controversial issue, understood. But we need to address what is the future of ag and what is cannabis's place in it. I am not anti-cannabis. I just want us to have smart ag, sustainable ag, wise use of our resources, including water and land use. And I want harmony for the community. And I think it can be achieved. But this chapter as it stands does not fit the bill. We need, I hate to say it, does it have to be an aspirational statement of how we expect cannabis to exist in this county? I don't know. But right now, to ignore the elephant in the room is not doing anybody any favors. So that's one. The other is water resources, and maybe, it's going to dovetail with water and the water resources, but we do have a situation where we have to be very wise in our use of water. We already have one water basin, Big Valley, that is under state monitoring, and we don't want any more of our water basins to fall into that fate. So are we doing enough? And especially in terms of the ag community, what do we need to do? Are there some proactive measures that we should be doing? I mean, we can look at the Central Valley, and that's a cautionary tale. We don't want a lot of wells to be going dry. We don't want subsidence. So are we doing enough? Are we actually safeguarding our groundwater? So these are questions I ask, and I'm disappointed that our consultants weren't able to provide us with more forward guidance or help us find best management practices or forward thinking for ag, for counties in our demographic or in our mix and what we're facing. I mean, we're a small we have a small population. We're definitely very rural. Our traditional ag is facing some challenges. We're not alone. Other counties are facing the same. What are they doing? And we want to cultivate the small farmer. I mean, small farms. We want sustainable. The community survey said we appreciate open space. We appreciate our agricultural culture. That's great. But are we doing enough to cultivate that so it will last for the next 20 years? And I think it was mentioned, I'm sorry, I'm getting my meetings mixed up, but there are development pressures on the farmer. It says, you know, I can't make it farming, but gosh, this developer keeps, you know, leaving me messages. And it's like, so we have organizations, we talk about land stewards, the land trust, but they're not interested in all parcels and not even necessarily ag parcels. So there is an ag land trust, and I'm interested in that, but I haven't had time to really delve into that. I did mention it in passing to the land trust executive director, but those are the kind of things that we should be looking at. What, and then other things, you know, working with the Farm Bureau. So is there a rental list available of farmers who have land, who of the landowners who are interested in, say, renting out farmland to a farmer or somebody who wants to do farming? I mean, that kind of facilitation. So we have better land use. And I have not had a chance to even, so sorry, Serena. I have not had a chance to even broach the subject with the Farm Bureau to see, is there interest in developing this kind of listing, like a service, like a bulletin board of farmland, available farmland? I mean, those are the kinds of things that I expected to see, at least a space holder in the ag chapter. There's another thing, sorry, one more.
Okay.
One more. Okay, we're seeing it across the country, demand for solar power and solar power farms. This chapter is very silent on what are you doing about solar farms and the demands on the farmer to say, hey, are you interested in leasing your land or selling? The positive side is that there is farming possible underneath those panels, but you wouldn't know it by reading this chapter. So I'll close there. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Matt?
Yeah.
Going forward, would you like us to use the timer or just stop using it?
If I may. Your bylaws say that comments will be 3 minutes. You can certainly, as the chair, restrict that if there is good cause to lesser time. If, say, for example, we have overspill and there's a massive amount of people. But if you do change the time frame, you will have to do it for every speaker. We cannot pick, it must be an equal application so everybody has the same opportunity to speak.
I understand that. This is a workshop, which is a different configuration than when we are, having conversations about a particular, project that comes before us. And I do understand that we need to be respectful if we give somebody, some freeboard in their time, that we do it for other folks. So,
if I may,
we will try to be, consistent. But I thought for a workshop, it's supposed to be a dialogue based. Although
your bylaws do not differentiate between items at a hearing. They don't. Your bylaws do not differentiate between hearings for use permit approvals and workshops.
Actually, our bylaws don't even refer to a workshop.
Correct. You can certainly choose as a commission to amend them. In fact, I'm sure staff and county council might have some recommendations as far as new language if you'd like to. The laws themselves also require the commission to do it at least once a year, so you can certainly consider doing that, as including it as a workshop, but there is no distinctive difference. So the rules for Rosenberg's and from the bylaws address how a meeting proceeds. So it doesn't make a distinction between the types of items that come before the meeting.
Nor is there a distinction in today's agenda, since this is a noticed public hearing.
Yeah.
It said on the agenda that went out,
it is
workshop.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But it is also a noticed public hearing.
Right. to me, in my experience, a workshop is very different from our usual meetings as far as conversation. So we'll try to be.
Well, it's just that the rules are for procedure, right? So it's not intended for specifically for the type. It doesn't. They're not tailored to the type of hearing that comes before you, right? The type of hearing you have. If you want to have well, no, it would still be a meeting. But the rules are intended to create an ordered, structured process.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This might just answer it. Is it at the discretion of the chairperson to decide whether a person can speak longer than 3 minutes?
No. Not according to the bylaws. No, you can amend them, but the purpose is for an ordered meeting, so that the chair has an ordered meeting, regardless of what the subject matter may be in the ordered meeting. In the past, there have been instances where, rather than extending the 3 minutes, the chair has allowed for, once everybody has had an opportunity to speak once, for people to come back up and speak again. So that has been a method by which to allow for continued discussion. But should your commission decide to revisit the bylaws in some time in the near future, I could certainly look to see if Rosenberg's or Roberts allow for the adoption of rules that allow for an extension of time if the chair sees fit. But do keep in mind that the Brown Act requires that if you do in fact allow for extension of time for one, you have to allow it for all.
I understand that. Okay, so we'll see if we can.
I would be in favor of making a motion, if that would be appropriate, to allow our chairperson to, at her discretion, allow people to continue longer than 3 minutes.
But that's outside of our bylaws. So, as county council just explained.
So I'm understanding.
How
that-
about we keep the timer going, and if you want
Thank you.
the speaker to finish up, then you just don't mute them or kick them out yet. We'll just keep going.
Okay.
All right.
And we do need to revisit our bylaws. I certainly understand that, and perhaps we need to make a clear delineation, if that's possible, between a workshop format and how that operates with us and the public input, as opposed to a regularly scheduled, consideration of someone's.
We will make a note of that to make sure that we do touch on that when we bring the bylaw update before the planning
Okay.
commission.
And it may
If
be.
I could also add a little additional clarification back to that public input, if Nicole wanted to speak before me.
No, please, go ahead.
Just a little, as I described to the board before, when we were going through every piece of public input that we got in that last cycle and thinking about it, there were a multitude of reasons why we either incorporated it or we did not. And one of those, as I described to the commission, is understanding the current board policy and not contradicting that. And we're very clear on the latest board policy, which is that cannabis is an agricultural product, an agricultural use, and an agricultural process. And so naturally that would then mean cannabis would not be continued to be called out as its own animal, but rather just assumed to have been integrated into the natural description of agricultural uses, products, and processes. And so, there were a number of comments received during that time period that wanted to call out cannabis. And a lot of those were declined because the board position is already clear. And so that's why a number of them were declined.
But we, as the planning commission, have the right to make and state an opinion that is
Indeed.
different.
And as stated before, that 115 pages was a courtesy because the General Plan Advisory Committee requested it. It is not part of the general plan. However, what it does, as it serves as a tool, is to help the public see if it was integrated or declined, and then come to a public hearing and speak to that exactly. So Ms. Kambara is doing exactly what the purpose of that inventory was created for. That's why we thought it was worthwhile to spend all of that extra time to draft that document as a tool for the public.
Thank you very much. I commend you for it.
And it was helpful, especially for folks who, you know, made comments to see certainly where they came from, how they were dealt with. And so that's why initially when I asked at the beginning of the meeting, there's going to be a lot of public comment. And so how do these folks who are making public comment see, you know, where it moves, how it moves along? So
You may, if I may, you may also make a distinction between the public comment and responses that are within the EIR versus public comments and responses that are related to the use permit, because as I've mentioned before, they are separate decisions governed by different rules. And for the EIR, comments that are submitted within the comment period, the lead agency is required to reply to them in writing within the EIR itself. However, when responding to comments, the lead agency is only required to respond to significant environmental issues. The county is not required to provide all information requested by the reviewers, and as long as the lead agency makes a good faith effort to address issues in the entirety of the EIR itself, they're not required to respond to every single comment. Typically, CEQA anticipates that comments that that a lead agency replies to are ones that are helpful in suggesting alternatives, ones that suggest mitigation measures, ones that address actual environmental impacts, and not necessarily comments that that say, for example, would be negative comments like, you know, this doesn't do.
Excuse me, I think this is something that we need to talk about when we're talking about the EIR.
Okay, but there's a distinction. So if the list that Director Turner is mentioning is a courtesy list for comments related to not the EIR, then they are courtesy. They are not required by the county. There isn't a standard by which the county is to respond to them, and the county isn't obligated to take every single comment or suggestion literally in the sense of adopting it.
thank you.
One last side note before we move on, please. At the request of the Kelseyville area LAPAC, they asked for what is now going to be called the action report, which is another side document, not part of the general plan. But in that one, for clarification and understanding for the public about this significant increase of goals, policies, and actions, I am drafting a table that will also describe the responsible department and for the actions, also a timeline and possible funding sources. That is another request that came from a LAPAC that is a valuable tool, and so we're spending the time to make sure that we have that as well. That draft document will be available at the board hearing, because it's about 400 pages of stuff for me to go through, and it's going to take a little time.
And that is something that was in the general plan of 2008. So perhaps some folks see that it's missing. I did want to take a moment too, because I did hear what Ms. Campara was saying, and I think it would be neglectful. I would think that this commission also kind of feels the same, but I would like to thank, because that list of comments, I found it very interesting going through all of those comments, both those that were accepted and denied, you know, and seeing, you know, just, you know, kind of what the topics and what the concerns were of the community members. So of the LAPAC members, of the GPAC, and I think that there was a good core of people that were very highly engaged in this process. And I understand, I hear what Ms. Kamara was saying about you know, feeling slightly deflated or defeated because I fully expected this room to be full. And I question why it's not. And there could be, you know, of course, a number of factors could play into that. But that concerns me a bit, that we don't have more people here engaged in this process, because this is a very, very, very important document for us now and moving into the future, and for those of us that don't even exist today, our grandkids, our, you know, kids. So anyway, I do think this document is very important, but at the same time, I do want to thank all of those people, and as my fellow commissioner here at the end here had stated also, is that, you know, for people to feel heard. I know, I've read through a lot of the information. I still have information yet to read because this is a lot of pages. But we do appreciate the input that has been provided to date and would appreciate hearing from you and hearing more. I'm saying that out to the public. So yes, please engage in this process. It's very important. Thank you.
All right, so we will open up the agricultural resource to public comment. We have already done that. Is there anybody else in the chambers who would like to speak? And then I don't know if there's anybody on Zoom, but please come up. State your name. You'll have 3 minutes softly.
Yolanda Chavez. And, you know, I think communication is really key to getting people involved. And, you know, Lake County is a very poor county. You know, 80% of the people don't buy the newspaper. They're working 2 and 3 jobs. And if you want to get to them, maybe, I mean, I'm sure there's a number of homeowners associations around the lake. Maybe contacting them and try and work with them to get to these people. I know it's hard to give everyone in Lake County a letter, you know, 60,000, you know, a stamp. But gosh, if we don't start doing this, because a lot of people, you know, if they hear about some of this stuff, they would be here. And then a lot of them work during the day. So that's another thing. And the other thing I wanted to say was there's 17 water companies around the lake. I don't think they're doing all the same things. And going to one of these meetings, you know, they don't even answer the questions that you have for them, and yet they go and they vote on stuff. You know, and then I'm hearing that they're taking the water from the edge of the lake instead of the middle of the lake. And who is monitoring all these people, for Christ's sakes? 17? You know, that's a lot. I mean, I think that the county, because, you know, these companies are, you know, affecting all the people in this county, that the county needs to do some sort of oversight. I'd like to know what kind of chemicals they're using, you know, because this is our drinking water, and how are they monitoring the lake from all the boats that go in and what they're putting in our water? That's so important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, Mrs. Chavez's comment reminded me that I forgot to point out that we also did issue a number of press releases that go to local media sources, and we used social media outreach to try to reach more people too.
Thank you. All right, comment here, and then we'll go to Zoom.
Hi, Charles Morris. Go ahead and put me on my 3 minutes. Good. Yeah. Land use. You know, historically, you know, Middletown area had redwood trees, and they were all basically logged out by 1933. The last grove was logged out down the street from where I live, and we never replaced what we took out. And the soil is suffering. I mean, the ag department is right. We need to go through the ag and go through with that. Cannabis just adds a lot more stress. And then, of course, there's the thing about waters. There's 3,650 mines in this county. They would take a simple solution to add water to our environment that we don't have to give to YOLO, and that is just stick a pump in every one of those mines. People are calling mines their well. It's not a well. It was never there. There are creeks that we can look on the map right now that used to exist, that don't exist, and you'll find a mine next to them. It's so simple to solve some of these problems, okay? But cannabis is not the answer, in my opinion, for anything. There's no record before, quote unquote, you know, the colonists came to America of any hunger in this area. Everybody had enough food to eat. Everybody had enough agriculture to do it. And this was actually one of the best places on earth to be. It was a paradise before we got here. You have to look around at this and say, are we making this a better place to live? Are we making it worse? And how much more can the land take before it can go back? There are good solutions out there. Even if we brought back redwoods, you know, and it took us 25 years to have a redwood industry again, as long as we do it sustainably, it's fine, okay? But we're just robbing the soils and we're robbing the water for what? Nothing short of poison, okay? I mean, you can't call it any other way. So in my area with agriculture, I have to agree that there's a lot of work to do. And if there's comments that are being dismissed as just no, we're not going to do that for economics, then the economics aren't going to work. We don't have mines anymore because the economics didn't work anymore. We don't have lumber mills full of redwoods because the economics didn't work anymore. Okay, and we're down to, you know, the bottom of the barrel here. I don't have a good answer about cannabis. I do know that if it takes a lot of water, you shouldn't do it. But in my area where I live, we don't allow grapes either because you cannot sustain it. Not on 2 gallons a minute of water. So I mean, we have to look at it from the big picture and think of it smartly. And hopefully the Ag Department is looking at all these issues too, because they should have a bigger voice here. That's all I got.
Thank you. All right, so anybody on Zoom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Betsy, please unmute.
Good morning. No, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. The first thing I want to mention
Would you
is,
please introduce yourself?
oh, sorry, Betsy Kahn,
Thank you.
member of the General Plan Advisory Committee, member of the Local Area Plan Committee for Upper Lake and Nice, and a longtime participant in county planning projects. The first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to ask whoever is producing the online version if we could see the people while they're talking. Just, you know, there's a very tiny image of the people in the room, and there's the large image of the slide that says agricultural resources. You know, I don't need to see that. I need to see the people. And I can't always tell who's talking. Thank you so much. I sent an email earlier asking for that. I'm particularly annoyed by County Council's constant restriction of the commission's ability to conduct the workshop in its own, according to its own desires and needs. This has nothing to do with bylaws or Rosenbergs or anything else. We're trying to get to the core issues here, and I appreciate the commissioner's willingness to hear us. I did submit, of course, many comments, and as a member of the General Plan Advisory Committee, I'm very concerned. I want to emphasize that the issues that were raised before about the separation of specifics into local area plan chapters instead of providing them as overview content that applies to the whole county is extremely important. For one thing, you've taken these area plans that some of which were very, very thorough, like the Middletown area plan, and reduced them to a few pages, most of which details zoning and land use designations and that kind of thing. There's so much more to the local areas that have been lost, and the connection to the actual local area plan participants, which are not just local area plan committee members, but also the municipal advisory councils and a large number of civic and social organizations that create what is called community. Next, I'd like to address the word community, because in the earlier discussion about the, let's see, I have it in my notes. In the earlier discussion, this was around 11:15, you were in the agricultural element, the use of the words abundance of community stewards. Well, and then the question of whether it was a steward of the community or a steward of the industry. The word community is thrown in here at multiple levels, and it does not help because it is so broadly use that it's not a clear definition. We need to be sure that we're making distinctions between organizations, agencies, and boundary areas. I would really recommend that you look at, and you can't do it today, but look at the East Region Town Hall meeting of August 5th. In the first 20 minutes, the Board of the Municipal Advisory Council provided some very pointed comments, including the fact that they also agree that the need for a land use element is important. I think that we've dispersed so much information that should be in the land use element, and we've lost that, and that it reduces the structure that we have in the current general plan. I know I have many more pertinent comments, and I'll try to bring those up during the next element reviews, but I appreciate you hearing my thoughts on this. Oh, my last thought is, in echoing Margot Combara's comment, the General Plan Advisory Committee, the participants in these surveys, the participants in these stakeholder meetings, the participants in all these municipal advisory councils, we were all given the impression that our views were significant enough to warrant more than just a yes or no in what is called a courtesy report. The courtesy that needs to be extended is to all of those participants as meaningful contributors to this plan, not just commenters. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
We have to break at 12:30.
No, I know, but I would want to take, if there's anybody else on Zoom, we want to try to clear that.
County staff has to break at 12:30.
Oh, I understand that. We still have a couple minutes. Is there anyone else on Zoom? How many?
Two.
Two? All right.
Serena, please unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for this is Serena from Lake County Farm Bureau. Thank you. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to provide some comments regarding the agricultural element. I do want to express one concern regarding the comment process, and we appreciate that we are extended the courtesy of allowing us to submit our recommendations and feedback. However, following some of the decline of several of our principal suggestions, we felt like it would have been appreciative to receive more specific feedback regarding why those recommendations were not incorporated prior to the release of the 115-page document, and maybe we can rework and adjust them so that way some of those core principles that we had suggested were able to still be included in the document in more applicable places. And we do this because we believe that that kind of dialogue is important when developing the ag element that is intended to serve our ag community for decades to come. And I just wish that there may have been better opportunities to modify the language or provide additional justification or address concerns in a way that would have allowed some of our principal recommendations to be incorporated while still meeting the broader planning objectives of the 2050 plan.
So may I, excuse me, may I interrupt? We do
Yes.
we have a hard stop here for the staff here. Can I
Yes.
ask you if you would rejoin us after our lunch break? Because we want to hear your comments and recommendations, and also to the other person on Zoom, if you would be, flexible in order to for us to accommodate our county staff. We will resume at 1:30, and so and at that time we will take up both of you folks that are on Zoom, and then continue on discussing the ag element.
Okay, Madam Chair, I do have another meeting between 1 and 2, so I don't know if I'll be able to rejoin and make my comment then.
1:30.
I'd like to suggest that we continue the meeting till August 20th. Would that be feasible?
Hang on, we're having a conversation here. So what is the pleasure of the group here?
The chambers are booked on August 20th. I listed the available options to use the
Oh,
board
right, the-
It was
chamber.
August 21.
I think
All
the
day long.
21st
Friday,
was the
August
next available
21st.
date.
Oh, okay.
Next
So,
Friday.
I'll give it my class. I would like to make a motion to continue the meeting to August 21st at 9 a.m. I think that it's very important to hear these voices. The Farm Bureau represents a lot of farmers, most, if not all farmers. So,
I think that's important too, but I think we need to get through some, I'm not on. We need to get through some of this material. And we do have, as a commission, we do have a quorum here. I'm sorry if you need to check out at noon, but we do have a quorum of 4. So I think we need to proceed with, perhaps the quorum of 4 needs to decide on what matters, we should continue to try to address before we reduce our size further this afternoon.
Okay, so maybe ask this question. If there's a request to postpone the ag resource element to the potential of the 21st, we could continue on after lunch with water, health, geothermal, and noise, as far as it.
Before you lose a second commissioner at 2 o'clock.
Correct.
I don't think we'll be able to do them all in half an hour.
No.
We have to talk fast. Okay, so you're probably right. Okay, so then, all right, so when we come back at 1:30, which element?
Commissioner Field, you would like to be here for the ag resources
Right.
element?
I would like to be here for all of it.
Yes.
I can come back at 1:30. I'll make it happen. I do need to run home, though, and take care of something.
Okay, all right, so let's try to finish ag, starting at 1:30. And for the Farm Bureau, when you come back from your meeting at 2, we may still be on this, and so you can come and join us then, okay? So we understand that, we have to zig and zag around people's schedules. All right, so we will do ag when we come back. And then we'll see what time it is then. If the street lights have come on, we may want to make another decision.
And perhaps we could ask Serena, the executive director for the Farm Bureau, to submit maybe her comments in email?
That would be helpful, but if you come back at 2, we'll work in. All right, lunch until 1:30. Thank you very much.